you're at it, like, share, and interact with our Facebook and Instagram pages at SKNIS Media and SKNIS Info.
Mr. President, Excellencies, distinguished delegates, St. Kitts and Nevis has the honor to deliver this statement on behalf of the 14 member states of the Caribbean Community, CARICOM. We align ourselves with the statements delivered by Iraq on behalf of G77 in China and by Palau on behalf of the Alliance of Small Island Developing States, IOSIS. We warmly commend St. Lucia and Suriname for presenting their voluntary national reviews, and we look forward to learning from presenters. Excellencies, we are halfway through the 2030 agenda, but far from halfway to achieving it. Only about a third of SDG targets are showing even modest progress. The compounding effects of climate change, environmental degradation, and economic shocks are putting hard-won gains at risk. And too often, global institutions are failing to rise to the occasion, underfunded, outdated, or undermined. We must resist despair. Innovation and technology offer real promise, but access remains deeply unequal. And despite new commitments like those in the Compromiso de Sevilla, we are sobered by declining ODA projections. CARICOM believes the ground is not crumbling beneath us. We offer 3 propositions. First, all developing countries aspire to deliver better outcomes for their people. In CARICOM, we are doing our part, pursuing economic diversification, leading reforms at home, and advocating globally for solutions like the Bridgetown Initiative and the Debt Sustainability Support Services for SIDS. We are exploring new debt instruments, regional financing models, and sustainable investment pathways. Second, we strongly defend multilateralism. We supported outcomes in Nice and Sevilla, and we look ahead to milestones like the UN's 80th anniversary and COP30 in Belém with resolve. There is political will across divides. We must translate this into action. Third, sustainable development is not a zero-sum game. We share one planet. Our economies and futures are interdependent. Cooperation is not optional, it is essential. For the foregoing reasons, CARICOM is convinced that we have a solid foundation to hasten our actions. Mr. President, we urge a holistic approach to the SDGs. Women and girls must be at the heart of our development agenda. Structural barriers must be dismantled so that all women and men can realize their full potential. In the Caribbean, we are building more resilient, diversified economies, investing in digital services, sustainable tourism, creative industries, and climate-smart agriculture. We are strengthening our health systems to withstand climate-related threats, but we need sustained, scaled-up support. For CARICOM, the ocean is a lifeline. We welcome the outcomes of the 3rd UN Ocean Conference and call for urgent ocean financing for SIDS. Above all, without meaningful international partnerships, the SDGs will falter. This includes access to predictable financing, emerging technologies, and debt relief. Most critically, the international community must deliver on its commitment to support SIDS through the Antigua and Barbuda Agenda for SIDS, ABAS. We cannot speak of sustainable development without addressing the situation in Haiti. Haiti requires urgent action, sustained international engagement to meet its humanitarian needs and to support peace, security, and long-term development. Excellencies, as we commemorate 80 years of the United Nations, let us prove this institution still delivers for those who need it most. Let the next 5 years be marked by action, not excuses. Let us rise together and fulfill the promise of the 2030 Agenda. Thank you.
It is indeed an honor for me to have the opportunity to address this remarkable gathering at the 4th Africa-Caribbean Trade and Investment Forum, a forum that has grown stronger, more impactful, and more essential with every edition. Its very existence is a shining testimony of our shared resolve to reunite the African and Caribbean peoples through trade, investment, innovation, and purpose. The theme, Global Africa, Uniting for Prosperity, is both timely and transformative. At this moment in history marked by global uncertainty, shifting power dynamics, and rising demands for equity, this calls us to action. It reminds us that our destiny is not to remain on the periphery of global trade and development, but to stand together at the center of a new global paradigm, one that reflects our strengths, our values, and our aspirations. We as governments carry the responsibility to shape the environment where opportunity flourishes. We must be bold enough to tear down the bureaucratic and physical barriers that separate us, and be visionary enough to build bridges of commerce, culture, and cooperation. And that is why I agree with Mr. Aliko Dangote. This is not hard. This is doable. What it requires is clarity of vision, consistency of purpose, and collective will. Let me share what is possible when these ingredients come together. Just about a year ago, following an investment summit in Bastia, St. Kitts, I met with the leadership from Aquarium Consult, Ms. Aisha Mina and her team. As a result of that, in just months later, I was on a direct flight with a contingent to Abuja for Caribbean Africa Investment Summit in Abuja. On that trip, I had the opportunity to meet many of the business shakers and movers in that city and across Nigeria. I even had the opportunity to visit with the President Bola Ahmed Tinubu. And in our discussion, we discussed how we can tangibly connect Africa and the Caribbean. It was a very fruitful and successful discussion. I then issued an invitation to him to the region. He said to me that he would come to the region. Months later, he was on a visit to St. Lucia, where he met with leaders from the OECS. I want to thank the President for standing on his word. But it didn't stop there. Just after having visited Abuja, Nigeria, putting on an African-Caribbean forum with a private sector entity. This is why the private sector is so crucial and important in all of this that we seek. We had a return event in St. Kitts and Nevis, where an earpiece, one of the largest jets that ever landed on St. Kitts, came with scores of people from Nigeria, which included business people, people in government, government officials. We even had sports members or members of sport teams, those who were from the cultural sector. And in St. Kitts, there was a real fusion, a fusion of the cultural expressions of West Africa with the cultural expressions, in this case, particularly St. Kitts and Nevis. A fusion that was so seamless that really speaks to our relationship building, that it can be as seamless as their bodies move, as they integrate cultural expression from one area with another. We also had a football game. We had a team from Nigeria. They played against the St. Kitts and Nevis football team. No need to say who won the game. But again, you see the young people battling on the field. The African continent meet the brothers of the Caribbean in an exhibition football game. And there the Nigerians brought their drums and they brought their way of how they celebrate football. And there those from St. Kitts, the Kittitians, celebrated how they celebrate football. And again, it was so natural and so seamless that out of that game, I'm sure that relationships have been formed that will be forever. Again, demonstrating that it is not difficult, it is really possible and can be done. And if that could have been done between us, imagine what all of us can do together. But not only that, as St. Kitts, we have Nevis, we have also fostered academic and technical exchange with institutions such as the Open University of Tanzania, and the Prime Minister was here. We have also forged relationship with the Technical Vocational School of the University of Kenya. These connections are preparing our youth not just to witness change, but to drive it. I say all of this to say that it's already happening, and we are here to ensure that we accelerate the process. But what I would like to say is that this has opened up avenues between the Caribbean and Africa. As I said, traveling to Africa must be as normal and accessible as traveling to Europe. Our people must be able to book a flight in any part of Africa and return within the same week. No visa hurdles, no complex routes, just connection between our peoples. St. Kitts and Nevis has already opened its doors to Africa. Now we need to build open skies, open seas, and open systems that allow for seamless travel, trade, and exchange between the continent and our region. The current level of Africa-Caribbean trade is far too low and was pointed out by our gracious host. But this is not a weakness. It is potential. There's only one direction from here, and we all know what that direction is. That is up. Africa has the people. It has the land. It has the resources. What we need now is the political courage and the operational know-how to transform that potential into shared prosperity. Let this be the century where global Africa rises, not just in rhetoric, but in results. Let us not be daunted, for in the early 20th century, the Honorable, His Excellency National Hero of Jamaica, Marcus Garvey, formed the UNIA and built a company called the Black Star Liner, whose objective was to link Africa to the Caribbean. At that time, there were no presidents in the room, there were no prime ministers in the room, there were no major banks in the room, there were no independent countries in the room, and he did this at that time. So if he did this at that time, with the whole world against him, just imagine now that we have presidents in the room, prime ministers in the room, major banks in the room, and independent people in the room, what can we do as we forge this relationship with them? This is why I fully support the commission proposed by President Orama. And yesterday, we were all moved by the practical wisdom shared by elder statesman P.J. Patterson at lunch. This commission, if done well, can serve as the vehicle to help accomplish what we seek. Thus, the upcoming AU CARICOM summit in Addis Ababa must be remembered not for its speeches, but for its deliverables. With a combined market of 1.6 billion people, we have the numbers, we have the talent, and we have the momentum to make history, to make our history at this particular time. We stand ready. St. Kitts and Nevis has already signed 3 agreements with Afrexim Bank. Well, 2, we'll sign the 3rd one today, 2 of which involve private sector investments. 2 of which involve private sector investments. Our size has never defined us. As I often remind colleagues, Singapore is no bigger than St. Lucia. It's not about landmass. It's about leadership, partnerships, and strategic execution. These islands once propelled the economies of Europe, not to our benefit, but to our detriment. Let us now do it for us. We must not only view the Atlantic as a passage of pain, but begin to see it as a bridge of opportunity, a bridge of commerce, a bridge of culture, and a bridge of collective renewal. Today, allow me to pay homage to President Benedict Oram, my brother and a partner on this path, one of the great visionaries of our time. I remember vividly our private meeting in Barbados after the public session. Only 2 heads of government were present, myself and another head. But your words were enough to shift paradigms. You touched me in a particular way with your clarity of thought and vision. And the very first agreement I signed as Prime Minister of St. Kitts and Nevis was with the Afrexim Bank. And the very first country to sign an agreement with the Afrexim Bank was St. Kitts and Nevis. That is the level of faith that I had, and that faith has grown. What you have achieved, books will be written about. You have not only laid a foundation, you have built a legacy. Put your hands together for President Oram. And to the incoming president, I've had the honor of engaging with you. And I am filled with hope. Your passion, intellect, steady resolve reassure me. And I am confident that you are the right leader to carry the torch forward. So let us welcome. He may not be here, but let me acknowledge him. So as I bring my remarks to a close, let us therefore unite as one people, not as scattered states, but as one global Africa, bound not only by ancestry, but by ambition. Let us build the Atlantic Bridge and step boldly into a future defined by our own vision. This is our time. The march has begun, and it cannot be stopped. Let us all join in. Thank you very much.
If you haven't done it as yet, please do it today. Subscribe to our YouTube page at SKNIS Media for regular updates, live coverage, and even more information on your government. While you're at it, like, share, and interact with our Facebook and Instagram pages at SKNIS Media and SKNIS Info. Join us every Wednesday for In Focus, a weekly talk show produced by the St. Kitts Nevis Information Service, where we provide exclusives with key persons within the government and discuss pertinent, relevant, and interesting matters that affect us all. Tune in every Wednesday, live on ZIZ Radio, and streamed live on Facebook at SKNIS Media and ZIZ Online. In Focus, your government, your business.
welcoming you to In Focus, a weekly program where we take a closer look at what's happening within and across the government of St. Kitts and Nevis. On this episode, we turn our attention to the Immigration Department, an essential pillar in both national security and visitor experience. Joining us are Chief Immigration Officer Mr. Sheldon Jeffers and Deputy Chief Immigration Officer Suzette Hodge. They are here to discuss with us the latest innovations and other key changes aimed at improving efficiency and strengthening.
Nevis has the honor to deliver this statement on behalf of the 14 member states of the Caribbean Community, CARICOM. We align ourselves with the statements delivered by Iraq on behalf of G77 in China, and by Palau on behalf of the Alliance of Small Island Developing States, AOSIS. We warmly commend St. Lucia and Suriname for presenting their voluntary national reviews, and we look forward to learning from presenters. Excellencies, we are halfway through the 2030 agenda, but far from halfway to achieving it. Only about a third of SDG targets are showing even modest progress. The compounding effects of climate change, environmental degradation, and economic shocks are putting hard-won gains at risk. And too often, global institutions are failing to rise to the occasion, underfunded, outdated, or undermined. We must resist despair. Innovation and technology offer real promise, but access remains deeply unequal. And despite new commitments like those in the Compromiso de Sevilla, we are sobered by declining ODA projections. CARICOM believes the ground is not crumbling beneath us. We offer 3 propositions. First, all developing countries aspire to deliver better outcomes for their people. In CARICOM, we are doing our part, pursuing economic diversification, leading reforms at home, and advocating globally for solutions like the Bridgetown Initiative and the Debt Sustainability Support Services for SIDS. We are exploring new debt instruments, regional financing models, and sustainable investment pathways. Second, we strongly defend multilateralism. We supported outcomes in Nice and Sevilla, and we look ahead to milestones like the UN's 80th anniversary and COP30 in Belém with resolve. There is political will across divides. We must translate this into action. Third, sustainable development is not a zero-sum game. We share one planet. Our economies and futures are interdependent. Cooperation is not optional, it is essential. For the foregoing reasons, CARICOM is convinced that we have a solid foundation to hasten our actions. Mr. President, we urge a holistic approach to the SDGs. Women and girls must be at the heart of our development agenda. Structural barriers must be dismantled so that all women and men can realize their full potential. In the Caribbean, we are building more resilient, diversified economies, investing in digital services, sustainable tourism, creative industries, and climate-smart agriculture. We are strengthening our health systems to withstand climate-related threats, but we need sustained, scaled-up support. For CARICOM, the ocean is a lifeline. We welcome the outcomes of the 3rd UN Ocean Conference and call for urgent ocean financing for SIDS. Above all, without meaningful international partnerships, the SDGs will falter. This includes access to predictable financing, emerging technologies, and debt relief. Most critically, the international community must deliver on its commitment to support SIDS through the Antigua and Barbuda Agenda for SIDS, ABAS. We cannot speak of sustainable development without addressing the situation in Haiti. Haiti requires urgent action, sustained international engagement to meet its humanitarian needs and to support peace, security, and long-term development. Excellencies, As we commemorate 80 years of the United Nations, let us prove this institution still delivers for those who need it most. Let the next 5 years be marked by action, not excuses. Let us rise together and fulfill the promise of the 2030 Agenda. Thank you.
It is indeed an honor for me to have the opportunity to address this remarkable gathering at the 4th Africa-Caribbean Trade and Investment Forum, a forum that has grown stronger, more impactful, and more essential with every edition. Its very existence is a shining testimony of our shared resolve to reunite the African and Caribbean peoples through trade, investment, innovation, and purpose. The theme, Global Africa, Uniting for Prosperity, is both timely and transformative. At this moment in history marked by global uncertainty, shifting power dynamics, and rising demands for equity, this calls us to action. It reminds us that our destiny is not to remain on the periphery of global trade and development, but to stand together at the center of a new global paradigm, one that reflects our strengths, our values, and our aspirations. We as governments carry the responsibility to shape the environment where opportunity flourishes. We must be bold enough to tear down the bureaucratic and physical barriers that separate us, and be visionary enough to build bridges of commerce, culture, and cooperation. And that is why I agree with Mr. Aliko Dangote. This is not hard. This is doable. What it requires is clarity of vision, consistency of purpose, and collective will. Let me share what is possible when these ingredients come together. Just about a year ago, following an investment summit in Bastia, St. Kitts, I met with the leadership from Aquarium Consult, Ms. Aisha Mina and her team. As a result of that, in just months later, I was on a direct flight with a contingent to Abuja for Caribbean Africa Investment Summit in Abuja. On that trip, I had the opportunity to meet many of the business shakers and movers in that city and across Nigeria. I even had the opportunity to visit with the President Bola Ahmed Tinubu. And in our discussion, we discussed how we can tangibly connect Africa and the Caribbean. It was a very fruitful and successful discussion. I then issued an invitation to him to the region. He said to me that he would come to the region. Months later, he was on a visit to St. Lucia, where he met with leaders from the OECS. I want to thank the President for standing on his word. But it didn't stop there. Just after having visited Abuja, Nigeria, putting on an African-Caribbean forum with a private sector entity. This is why the private sector is so crucial and important in all of this that we seek. We had a return event in St. Kitts and Nevis, where an earpiece, one of the largest jets that ever landed on St. Kitts, came with scores of people from Nigeria, which included business people, people in government, government officials. We even had sports members or members of sport teams, those who were from the cultural sector. And in St. Kitts, there was a real fusion, a fusion of the cultural expressions of West Africa with the cultural expressions, in this case, particularly St. Kitts and Nevis. A fusion that was so seamless that really speaks to our relationship building, that it can be as seamless as their bodies move, as they integrate cultural expression from one area with another. We also had a football game. We had a team from Nigeria. They played against the St. Kitts and Nevis football team. No need to say who won the game. But again, you see the young people battling on the field. The African continent meet the brothers of the Caribbean in an exhibition football game. And there the Nigerians brought their drums and they brought their way of how they celebrate football. And there those from St. Kitts, the Kittitians, celebrated how they celebrate football. And again, it was so natural and so seamless that out of that game, I'm sure that relationships have been formed that will be forever. Again, demonstrating that it is not difficult, it is really possible and can be done. And if that could have been done between us, imagine what all of us can do together. But not only that, as St. Kitts, we have Nevis, we have also fostered academic and technical exchange with institutions such as the Open University of Tanzania, and the Prime Minister was here. We have also forged relationship with the Technical Vocational School of the University of Kenya. These connections are preparing our youth not just to witness change, but to drive it. I say all of this to say that it's already happening, and we are here to ensure that we accelerate the process. But what I would like to say is that this has opened up avenues between the Caribbean and Africa. As I said, traveling to Africa must be as normal and accessible as traveling to Europe. Our people must be able to book a flight in any part of Africa and return within the same week. No visa hurdles, no complex routes, just connection between our peoples. St. Kitts and Nevis has already opened its doors to Africa. Now we need to build open skies, open seas, and open systems that allow for seamless travel, trade, and exchange between the continent and our region. The current level of Africa-Caribbean trade is far too low and was pointed out by our gracious host. But this is not a weakness. It is potential. There's only one direction from here, and we all know what that direction is. That is up. Africa has the people. It has the land. It has the resources. What we need now is the political courage and the operational know-how to transform that potential into shared prosperity. Let this be the century where global Africa rises, not just in rhetoric, but in results. Let us not be daunted, for in the early 20th century, the Honorable, His Excellency National Hero of Jamaica, Marcus Garvey, formed the UNIA and built a company called the Black Star Liner, whose objective was to link Africa to the Caribbean. At that time, there were no presidents in the room, there were no prime ministers in the room, there were no major banks in the room, there were no independent countries in the room, and he did this at that time. So if he did this at that time, with the whole world against him, just imagine now that we have presidents in the room, prime ministers in the room, major banks in the room, and independent people in the room, what can we do as we forge this relationship with them? This is why I fully support the commission proposed by President Orama. And yesterday, we were all moved by the practical wisdom shared by elder statesman P.J. Patterson at lunch. This commission, if done well, can serve as the vehicle to help accomplish what we seek. Thus, the upcoming AU CARICOM summit in Addis Ababa must be remembered not for its speeches, but for its deliverables. With a combined market of 1.6 billion people, we have the numbers, we have the talent, and we have the momentum to make history, to make our history at this particular time. We stand ready. St. Kitts and Nevis has already signed 3 agreements with Afrexim Bank. Well, 2, we'll sign the 3rd one today, 2 of which involve private sector investments. 2 of which involve private sector investments. Our size has never defined us. As I often remind colleagues, Singapore is no bigger than St. Lucia. It's not about landmass. It's about leadership, partnerships, and strategic execution. These islands once propelled the economies of Europe, not to our benefit, but to our detriment. Let us now do it for us. We must not only view the Atlantic as a passage of pain, but begin to see it as a bridge of opportunity, a bridge of commerce, a bridge of culture, and a bridge of collective renewal. Today, allow me to pay homage to President Benedict Oramah, my brother and a partner on this path, one of the great visionaries of our time. I remember vividly our private meeting in Barbados after the public session. Only 2 heads of government were present, myself and another head. But your words were enough to shift paradigms. You touched me in a particular way with your clarity of thought and vision. And the very first agreement I signed as Prime Minister of St. Kitts and Nevis was with the Afrexim Bank. And the very first country to sign an agreement with the Afrexim Bank was St. Kitts and Nevis. That is the level of faith that I had, and that faith has grown. What you have achieved, books will be written about. You have not only laid a foundation, you have built a legacy. Put your hands together for President Oramah. And to the incoming president, I've had the honor of engaging with you. And I am filled with hope. Your passion, intellect, steady resolve reassure me. And I am confident that you are the right leader to carry the torch forward. So let us welcome. He may not be here, but let me acknowledge him. So as I bring my remarks to a close, let us therefore unite as one people, not as scattered states, but as one global Africa, bound not only by ancestry, but by ambition. Let us build the Atlantic Bridge and step boldly into a future defined by our own vision. This is our time. The march has begun, and it cannot be stopped. Let us all join in. Thank you very much.
If you haven't done it as yet, please do it today. Subscribe to our YouTube page at SKNIS Media for regular updates, live coverage, and even more information on your government. While you're at it, like, share, and interact with our Facebook and Instagram pages at SKNIS Media and SKNIS Info.
Mr. President, Excellencies, distinguished delegates, St. Kitts and Nevis has the honor to deliver this statement on behalf of the 14 member states of the Caribbean Community, CARICOM. We align ourselves with the statements delivered by Iraq on behalf of G77 in China and by Palau on behalf of the Alliance of Small Island Developing States, IOSIS. We warmly commend St. Lucia and Suriname for presenting their voluntary national reviews, and we look forward to learning from presenters. Excellencies, we are halfway through the 2030 agenda, but far from halfway to achieving it. Only about a third of SDG targets are showing even modest progress. The compounding effects of climate change, environmental degradation, and economic shocks are putting hard-won gains at risk. And too often, global institutions are failing to rise to the occasion, underfunded, outdated, or undermined. We must resist despair. Innovation and technology offer real promise, but access remains deeply unequal. And despite new commitments like those in the Compromiso de Sevilla, we are sobered by declining ODA projections. CARICOM believes the ground is not crumbling beneath us. We offer 3 propositions. First, all developing countries aspire to deliver better outcomes for their people. In CARICOM, we are doing our part, pursuing economic diversification, leading reforms at home, and advocating globally for solutions like the Bridgetown Initiative and the Debt Sustainability Support Services for SIDS. We are exploring new debt instruments, regional financing models, and sustainable investment pathways. Second, we strongly defend multilateralism. We supported outcomes in Nice and Sevilla, and we look ahead to milestones like the UN's 80th anniversary and COP30 in Belém with resolve. There is political will across divides. We must translate this into action. Third, sustainable development is not a zero-sum game. We share one planet. Our economies and futures are interdependent. Cooperation is not optional, it is essential. For the foregoing reasons, CARICOM is convinced that we have a solid foundation to hasten our actions. Mr. President, we urge a holistic approach to the SDGs. Women and girls must be at the heart of our development agenda. Structural barriers must be dismantled so that all women and men can realize their full potential. In the Caribbean, we are building more resilient, diversified economies, investing in digital services, sustainable tourism, creative industries, and climate-smart agriculture. We are strengthening our health systems to withstand climate-related threats, but we need sustained, scaled-up support. For CARICOM, the ocean is a lifeline. We welcome the outcomes of the 3rd UN Ocean Conference and call for urgent ocean financing for SIDS. Above all, without meaningful international partnerships, the SDGs will falter. This includes access to predictable financing, emerging technologies, and debt relief. Most critically, the international community must deliver on its commitment to support SIDS through the Antigua and Barbuda Agenda for SIDS, ABAS. We cannot speak of sustainable development without addressing the situation in Haiti. Haiti requires urgent action, sustained international engagement to meet its humanitarian needs and to support peace, security, and long-term development. Excellencies, as we commemorate 80 years of the United Nations, let us prove this institution still delivers for those who need it most. Let the next 5 years be marked by action, not excuses. Let us rise together and fulfill the promise of the 2030 Agenda. Thank you.
It is indeed an honor for me to have the opportunity to address this remarkable gathering at the 4th Africa-Caribbean Trade and Investment Forum, a forum that has grown stronger, more impactful, and more essential with every edition. Its very existence is a shining testimony of our shared resolve to reunite the African and Caribbean peoples through trade, investment, innovation, and purpose. The theme, Global Africa, Uniting for Prosperity, is both timely and transformative. At this moment in history marked by global uncertainty, shifting power dynamics, and rising demands for equity, this calls us to action. It reminds us that our destiny is not to remain on the periphery of global trade and development, but to stand together at the center of a new global paradigm, one that reflects our strengths, our values, and our aspirations. We as governments carry the responsibility to shape the environment where opportunity flourishes. We must be bold enough to tear down the bureaucratic and physical barriers that separate us, and be visionary enough to build bridges of commerce, culture, and cooperation. And that is why I agree with Mr. Aliko Dangote. This is not hard. This is doable. What it requires is clarity of vision, consistency of purpose, and collective will. Let me share what is possible when these ingredients come together. Just about a year ago, following an investment summit in Bastia, St. Kitts, I met with the leadership from Aquarium Consult, Ms. Aisha Mina and her team. As a result of that, in just months later, I was on a direct flight with a contingent to Abuja for Caribbean Africa Investment Summit in Abuja. On that trip, I had the opportunity to meet many of the business shakers and movers in that city and across Nigeria. I even had the opportunity to visit with the President Bola Ahmed Tinubu. And in our discussion, we discussed how we can tangibly connect Africa and the Caribbean. It was a very fruitful and successful discussion. I then issued an invitation to him to the region. He said to me that he would come to the region. Months later, he was on a visit to St. Lucia, where he met with leaders from the OECS. I want to thank the President for standing on his word. But it didn't stop there. Just after having visited Abuja, Nigeria, putting on an African-Caribbean forum with a private sector entity. This is why the private sector is so crucial and important in all of this that we seek. We had a return event in St. Kitts and Nevis, where an earpiece, one of the largest jets that ever landed on St. Kitts, came with scores of people from Nigeria, which included business people, people in government, government officials. We even had sports members or members of sport teams, those who were from the cultural sector. And in St. Kitts, there was a real fusion, a fusion of the cultural expressions of West Africa with the cultural expressions, in this case, particularly St. Kitts and Nevis. A fusion that was so seamless that really speaks to our relationship building, that it can be as seamless as their bodies move, as they integrate cultural expression from one area with another. We also had a football game. We had a team from Nigeria. They played against the St. Kitts and Nevis football team. No need to say who won the game.
Good morning, everyone. I would now invite Reverend Erickson Cumberbatch from the Wesleyan Holiness Church to give the prayer.
Good morning. Let us pray. Our Father, we give you thanks for your gratefulness and your goodness towards us thus far. We thank you for how you have led. We thank you for how you have blessed us as a federation and as a people. We thank you for how you move on our lives and thus far for your leading in every aspect of our development. We ask that you bless this Parliament that meet to discuss the issues relating to our governance and going forward. We pray your special blessings on each presenter today. May it run according to your will, giving you honor and glory for Christ's sake. Amen.
Thank you, Pastor Cumberbatch. You may be seated.
Confirmation of minutes.
The minutes are deferred.
Messages from the Governor General.
There are no messages from the Governor General.
Announcements by the Deputy Speaker.
Yes, I have a few announcements. I have received notice of absence from the Honorable Member of St. Christopher IV. He's overseas on government duties. I've also received notice of absence from the Honorable Member for St. Christopher V and Honorable Senator Iselene Phillip. The Honorable Member for St. Christopher VI will be late for today's sitting. Lastly, the Honorable Speaker is overseas on parliamentary duties. Those are the notices.
Presentation of papers and of reports from committees. Petitions. Government notices. Unofficial notices. Questions. Requests for leave to move the adjournment of the National Assembly on matters of urgent public importance. Statements by ministers.
I recognize the Honorable Member for St. Christopher VIII.
Thank you very much, Deputy. Madam Deputy Speaker, with your leave, I rise to update this Honorable House on a number of pertinent matters with respect to my ministries. The first one I want to look at is the Ministry of Health. I continue to update the Parliament as to the transformation that health is going through, especially at all levels, but especially at the JNF Hospital, which we have had to really invest significant amount of resources, financial, human resource development, and so forth, to bring that hospital up to a new standard of operation. I want to thank the PS, Mr. Curtis Martin, who was once the Speaker of this Honorable House, whose leadership has been tremendous, along with his team. I would not be able to call all of their names, but I know that the team has been working hard, and even those who are the nurses, the doctors, the allied health workers, and also even those who clean the environment, those who make sure the meals are prepared, those who make sure that the beds are prepared. I want to recognize all of them as well for their tremendous work. Madam Deputy Speaker, a number of things have been done, and just want to highlight that today we received yesterday we received the first two of the fleet of ambulances that we'll be having here in St. Kitts and Nevis. So those two should be handed over tomorrow. But as I said, there was a delay because of the supply chain issues, and we are expected to receive all by November 2025. And so, Madam Deputy Speaker, we know that these two adding to the fleet will make a significant difference. We'll make sure never again that there is a dearth of ambulances here on St. Kitts. This would ensure that the emergency services will always be delivering its service at a very high level. In addition to that, we just hired a number of EMTs and paramedics, 2 paramedics and about 6 EMTs to strengthen the emergency medical services. And we know that that also will have a tremendous impact. So in terms of having more ambulances, this will be the most ambulances we ever had in St. Kitts and Nevis, period. And this would be the most qualified cadre of emergency technicians or paramedics we would have ever had in our federation as well. So in addition to all of the specialists that we have added and the number of other services that we have added to the JNF, we are also making sure that our emergency services are also functioning at very high level. Madam Deputy Speaker, I also want to say that we are now seeing the fruits of all the investments we are making in the hospital. We are now seeing that the in-hospital deaths are declining as we speak. So after COVID, I think I spoke about the extra deaths from COVID. It happened across the whole world. For whatever reason, the mortality rate went up across the world after COVID. It could have been a combination of many things that resulted in a higher number of people dying as a result of that period. We suffered that, and I've spoken about it here. And to deal with it, we had to put, of course, a lot of measures in place so that we can start to see the declining rate of death in the hospital, and even to try to get ahead of the curve, even though we were following the normal curve of what happened post-COVID, whether it be in North America, Europe, or wherever, that we would start to see that curve bend so that we would have less deaths in the hospital. So, for example, in the second quarter of 2023, we had 132 deaths here in the Federation in hospital across St. Kitts and Nevis. In 2024, we had 125 deaths in the same quarter. And in 2025, so we went from 132 in 2023, 125 in 2024, and to 104 in 2025. That's after second quarter. So these second quarter numbers show us that we have now turned the corner and the number of deaths are dropping significantly. It means, therefore, that all the measures that we have been putting in place, we are finally starting to see that those measures are translating in saving lives. And we know that is a real number. We have examined the number and so forth. So to go from 132 to 125 to 104, so that 104 number is a significant number, because that would be 21 less deaths during that period. And 21, that is a significant number, maybe about a fifth or so. And that is about 20%. So to have a 20% drop-off in anything is a significant number, especially in a small country. Those people whose lives are saved are our family members, our friends, our neighbors, and so forth. And so I really want to give a big shout out to the Ministry of Health, the doctors, the nurses, the maids, the cleaners, the orderlies. Without that full cadre, those who work in the lab, those who work in X-ray, those who are the physiotherapists, those who are the psychologists, whatever role you play at the hospital, this has definitely demonstrated that your work is really resonating. And so I wanted the country to know that we are now seeing that significant drop-off of intra-hospital deaths at JNF. So when I hear people talking about, people that I asked Ministry of Health, send me the numbers. I'm a medical doctor. I've been a medical doctor since 2005. This is 2025. That's 20 years. So I'm not Johnny come lately when it comes to medicine. I've studied, it's just the career that I've chosen, and I think I have tremendous experience because of the years I've been there and the areas that I've studied as well. And when you see a significant drop like this, what you're hearing from some politicians trying to gain some sort of political capital as a result of lying to the people. The numbers have come down significantly from 125 to 104 in the same quarter. That's a significant drop. 21 less people. And if you work it out, almost a fifth. So it's at least between 10 and 20%, so that's a significant number. I will have to calculate it. But I wanted to highlight how significant the drop-off is. And we will expect to see this number to continue to come down because of what we did. So I just want to put asunder that I would say, how will I describe it? Irresponsible comment by people trying to undermine St. Kitts and Nevis, by trying to say to the world that deaths in the hospitals are going up when we are seeing a significant drop in the number of deaths in the hospital. And so I want to ask people to refrain from lying, to refrain from giving people misinformation for some sort of political advantage that you think you will gain from it. The numbers speak for themselves, Madam Deputy Speaker. Let us thank our healthcare workers who have really put in the work to ensure that we would see such tremendous results. And we expect that to improve and as we go, as these measures that we have taken at JNF Hospital take root. Madam Deputy Speaker, I've spoken over and over again about the changes we are making at the hospital. We intend that hospital to become an accredited hospital. We are on a journey of accreditation as I speak to you. We have improved in all areas. We have the most specialists ever, the most services that we have ever had at JNF. And therefore, I want to take this opportunity to thank them once again. Madam Deputy Speaker, the other matter I want to deal with is the matter to do with per diem. Again, people are misleading people of this country, saying to people in this country that we are seeing, I would say, an increase in per diem for ministers who travel. Madam Deputy Speaker, that is not so. As a matter of fact, the per diem that I get is the same per diem that was in place since 2008. It has not even been adjusted for inflation and increase in cost. No change has taken place with respect to the per diem. Again, seeking to spread misinformation to gain some sort of silly political advantage. And so I wanted to clarify, and there was a press release, I think, that was put out on SKNIS dealing with the issue of per diem. And I just wanted to bring it here and raise it at the level of this Honorable House, seeing that my office deals with the issue of per diem, and to say that we have not changed the per diem for traveling ministers since 2008, Honorable Deputy Speaker. And so I just wanted to clarify those two things, to bring the update with respect to the new ambulances, to bring the update with respect to a decrease in in-hospital deaths, to put that nonsense to rest. And the last one to say that the per diem for ministers, that has not changed, and also to put that to rest. So I hope SKNIS will pick up these, and the news media will pick up this and make it their headline. The Prime Minister has confirmed that there is no change in the per diem since 2008. And the Prime Minister has confirmed with statistics from Ministry of Health that there is a decrease in the intra-hospital deaths since this quarter in comparison to quarters of the previous 2 years. And so I will end my short statement there. Madam Deputy Speaker, may I please?
Thank you, Honourable Member for St. Christopher 8. I recognize Honourable Senator Joy L. Clark.
Greetings, Madam Deputy Speaker. Today, I rise to make a brief statement by ministers on a few matters of environmental and sustainable development importance. First, I'd like to start again by reminding the listening audience, members here in the gallery and the Parliament, of the pending the update to our single-use plastic ban. Today, July 31st, happens to be the ban on the sale and distribution of plastic straws, of styrofoam food containers, and egg crates. So as of today, supermarkets, restaurants, etc., should not be distributing styrofoam food containers, egg crates, or plastic straws. I welcome the institutions which have already transitioned their styrofoam egg crates to cardboard, and we also welcome the transition even by our general public with our single-use plastic ban. I would say that as the Ministry of Environment, Constituency Empowerment, Climate Action, in partnership with Solid Waste Management Corporation, as well as the Parks and Beaches Unit, continues its mandate of pollution and waste management, we thank the people of St. Kitts and Nevis for the partnership in the single-use plastic ban. We do acknowledge that we're seeing pockets of plastic distribution, mainly amongst our street vendors and our market vendors, and we're hoping that the stock of plastic would eventually disappear, and we encourage partnership by the persons who are patronizing these businesses. Walk with your reusable bags, and when you are offered a plastic bag, just say no and remind that vendor that you are no longer supposed to distribute plastic bags. We acknowledge that this is a behavioral change, and behavioral change takes time, and transition is important. Hence, no one can say that they have been fined $5,000 for distributing plastics. I myself, in part of our spot checks, I've walked into supermarkets and I have been offered plastic bags, and I'm saying, not supermarkets, small shops, and I'm saying, remember, you no longer can distribute these plastic bags, so please take them off your shelf and let's work towards getting rid of plastic waste here in St. Kitts and Nevis. I remind us also that August 31st will see the importation ban on plastic plates, cups, and cutlery, and November 31st will see our final ban, which is the sale and distribution of plastic plates, cups, and cutlery. I'd also like to update on a recent work abroad engagement by the Ministry of Sustainable Development. Last week, we had the privilege of participating in the high-level political forum on sustainable development at the United Nations. This is an annual event where ministries and ministers of sustainable development participate for strategic engagement and also to present their voluntary national review. Next year, all things going well, St. Kitts and Nevis will be presenting its voluntary national review. I'm happy to say that this year, we're one of the first Caribbean countries to conduct a local voluntary national review on the island of Nevis, and this will form a significant part of our contribution and our participation next year in the forum. This year, St. Kitts and Nevis had the privilege of presenting on behalf of CARICOM, the CARICOM statement, which spoke to the need for global North countries to contribute more to attaining the Sustainable Development Goals. And we recognize that since we are just 5 years away from the 2030 agenda, we need to do much more to get there. Sadly to say, in the Caribbean and right here in St. Kitts and Nevis, we're not even 1/3 of the way in meeting our Sustainable Development Goals. That means every single goal is a challenge, hence the need for us to amplify and accelerate meeting these goals with our Sustainable Island State agenda. Thankfully, we had the honor of meeting the UN Deputy Secretary General, Ms. Amina Mohammed, where we had the opportunity to present our Sustainable Island State model and a commitment by the UN to contribute more to helping countries like St. Kitts and Nevis, who may not be able to access overseas development aid because of our high income status, but to access more technical cooperation towards attaining the Sustainable Development Goals. St. Kitts and Nevis also had the privilege of meeting with the Executive Director of the UN Women. I'm also happy to announce that we are playing a significant role in the revitalization of the Commission on the Status of Women. To note, St. Kitts and Nevis assumes a seat on the Economic and Social Council, the principal UN organ that oversees development policy, including the SDGs. So we are taking our Sustainable Island State agenda very seriously, even at our missions. Our ambassador, Dr. Williams, Demetrius Williams, will serve as Vice President for the 80th session of the United Nations General Assembly. This year is our 80th year in the founding of the United Nations, and we hope that this opportunity presents for the Federation a clear commitment that we believe in global united action. We recognize that the current geopolitics suggest that institutions like the UN are threatened, but St. Kitts and Nevis will continue playing its part towards global solidarity for development. St. Kitts and Nevis is also a member of the UN Mandela Prize Selection Committee, with our GG, our Governor General, serving as an eminent person there. So our work last week at the United Nations was completed with our strategic engagements with our UN partner, Global Center for Climate Mobility, and there we had a very, very significant diaspora engagement on climate change and climate resilience in St. Kitts and Nevis, and I want to thank not just the mission for its support, but also the Embassy in Washington, Her Excellency Jacinth Henry Martin, for her support in ensuring that this UN diaspora conversation happened, as well as our consulate, the Deputy Consulate General, that's Mr. Daniel, as well as Mr. Keith, for their support in getting such a significant conversation happening. And I'm happy to report that our diaspora is really interested in what happens in St. Kitts and Nevis as it relates to climate resilience. They have families here, they have homes here, they want to contribute, and we were able to facilitate that conversation. On that particular day, St. Kitts and Nevis also announced, in partnership with Global Center for Climate Mobility, the launch of our CCAF funding. This is our Community Climate Adaptation Facility funding. Applications have been open for over a week and will continue until August 15th. It's a short funding window, but we have set up a technical committee that will allow eligible groups to access between $5,000 US to $100,000 US funding. No strings attached for projects around climate resilience and climate adaptation. Our work with our strategic partners, when we leave to meet with them, when we participate in international conferences, is showing fruits. And for us, we know that the fruits for constituents and residents and citizens is access to funding to make changes in their livelihoods. And the Ministry of Environment, Climate Action, Constituency Empowerment et al. Is proud to say that yet again, we are delivering access to climate finance, funding, and tangible options for people to transform their lives. Now, this project facility invites community groups, non-governmental organizations, grassroots groups, grassroots organizations, informal community groups, networks, and cooperatives to participate in accessing this funding. Should you require information, you can reach out to any of our constituency empowerment officers at the Sands in Basse-Terre. We have a steering committee comprised of both Kittitians and Nevisians, persons who serve in the NGO space, technical leads who are going to guide our community groups in accessing these. Since we've launched, several persons have reached out asking how they can access this funding. We're making it flexible. We're making it easy for you to deliver your innovative solutions for your community groups, whether you're a sporting group, church group, youth group. There is no limit to who can access once you develop your projects. And as I said, we have a dedicated project development team to ensure that your submission meets the UN standards and you can access funding. We're happy to partner with the people of St. Kitts and Nevis on matters of environmental significance and sustainable development. We recognize that it is not always trending to talk about the environment, pollution, and waste management, but it is so significant. And for that, we will never stop. Thank you, Madam Deputy Speaker.
Thank you, Honorable Senator Clark. I recognize the Honorable Member for St. Christopher 1.
Thank you very much, Madam Deputy. It's just a quick notice. As you know, the school year has come to a close and we're in the summer mode. And I just wanted to thank all of the teaching staff, all of the auxiliary workers, everyone who worked during this academic year in ensuring that our children were not only safe but would be successful at their exams. But I wanted to bring to the attention of the Honorable House of the work that we intend to do in a number of our schools in terms of the upgrades, because you know there's always a tendency for us to think that nothing is happening, and that is not always the case, Madam Deputy. At the Washington Archibald High School, we are going to, and this is a project that has been there for a while, we are going to be replacing the windows at the Washington Archibald High School. I think I said in this Honorable House, almost $1.2 million would have been spent at the Washington Archibald, both with the upgrades in electricity and other work that we had to undertake. And we are working right now in ensuring that come September, they would have internet connection throughout the school in terms of the upgrade being the biggest high school. And we are going to be doing extensive cleaning of the bathrooms there, and we know that there is an issue at times with the water, thanks to the Honorable Convis Maynard. By the time they return to school, that problem would have been resolved because our desal plant would be fully functional by that time, all being well. But in the interim, we are going to be placing some water tanks there at the school so that we don't have any disruption when there is any issue with water. And of course, the school continues to leak badly after a contractor would have been paid before I got in there badly, and we are going to be doing some repairs there. At the Dr. William Connor Primary School, like many other schools, there's a bathroom issues, and we are starting with the soakaway there to make sure that we establish the real cause of the water issue there in the bathroom. At the Virtual High School again, I did promise that we are going to be upgrading our bathrooms, and the Virtual High School bathroom is one of those high schools that we are going to be tackling. Then I will have one more high school bathroom to do, and then I would have done all of the high school bathroom, that is. And then we have the Sandy Point Nursery. We are going to be doing some repairs in the kitchen there, Madam Deputy. At the same Sandy Point Primary School, again, bathrooms, and I'm talking about bathrooms that I inherited, but we are working towards fixing that, so hopefully we'll bring great comfort to the students there. And we are going to be doing some tiling in the kitchen at that school as well. At Charles E. Mills, I would have reported 1.3 million just about. Upgrading the electricity, gave them a brand new bathroom, upgraded the cafeteria. The work continues down there now with another block of the bathroom where we're going to be doing some extensive bathroom cleaning and some additional electrical work there. We are going to be installing some fans, Madam Deputy, in the Bastia High School. And of course, you know, this school being a temporary wooden school, there are some areas that we have to replace the wooden floors there, and we are going to be ensuring that that happens over the vacation. At the Sadler's Secondary, we are going to be doing, again, extensive work on the bathroom and a facelift of the school, and a surprise awaits the Federation September 1st. And at the Tucker Clark Primary School, we are going to be installing some electrical outlets so that the fans that I was able to get donated to the school would be fully used, Madam Deputy Speaker. This is the delay because the school was not built to take all of that load, so we had to do block by block in terms of bigger transformers, so we are going to work at that. Honorable Senator Joy Clark will be happy to note that we are going to be at the Newton Ground Primary School addressing a matter down there, again, bathroom soakaway, that she has been speaking about in terms of work, and the representative as well, Senior Minister. And at the Keon High School, Madam Deputy, again, we were able to present a brand new bathroom, but there was one that wasn't being used, and we are now going to make sure we do the necessary cleaning so that they would have an additional functioning bathroom. That's just an update of the extensive work that we hope to undertake in the Ministry of Education over the vacation, and I must extend my profound thanks to those in the school maintenance team via the STEP program, and also our maintenance unit in the Ministry of Education. May I please you, Madam Deputy.
Thank you, Honourable Member for St. Christopher 1. Next item on the order paper.
Personal explanations. Motions relating to the business of the National Assembly and moved by a minister. Introduction of bills and first reading.
I recognize the Honourable Member for St. Christopher 8.
Madam Deputy Speaker, with your leave, I rise once again to have read for the first time in this Honourable House a bill shortly entitled Banking Amendment Bill 2025. May it please you.
Seconder, I recognize the Honourable Member for St. Christopher 1.
I second the motion, Madam Deputy.
Thank you. The question is that the bill entitled Banking Amendment Bill 2025 be read a first time. Those in favour? Aye. Those against? The ayes have it.
A bill to amend the Banking Act, Cap 21.01, otherwise known as the Banking Amendment Bill 2025.
The bill entitled Banking Amendment Bill 2025 has been read a first time. Next bill. I recognize the Honourable Member for St. Christopher 8.
Madam Deputy Speaker, with your leave, I rise once again to have read before this Honourable House for the first time a bill shortly entitled Eastern Caribbean Asset Management Corporation Agreement Amendment Bill 2025. May it please you.
Seconder, I recognize Honourable Senator Clark.
Madam Deputy Speaker, I second that motion.
Thank you. The question is that the bill entitled Eastern Caribbean Asset Management Corporation Agreement Amendment Bill 2025 be read a first time. Those in favour? Aye. Those against? The ayes have it.
A bill to amend the Eastern Caribbean Asset Management Corporation Agreement Act, Cap 21.23, otherwise known as the Eastern Caribbean Asset Management Corporation Agreement Amendment Bill 2025.
The bill entitled Eastern Caribbean Asset Management Corporation Agreement Amendment Bill 2025 has been read a first time. I recognize the Honourable Member for St. Christopher 8.
Madam Deputy Speaker, with your leave once again, I rise to have read for the first time in this Honourable House a bill entitled Special Sustainability Zones Authorization Bill 2025.
Seconder, I recognize the Honourable Member for Nevis 9.
Madam Speaker, I rise to second that motion.
Thank you. The question is that the bill entitled Special Sustainability Zone Authorization Bill 2025 be read a first time. Those in favor? Aye. Those against? The ayes have it.
A bill to authorize and empower the Prime Minister with approval of Cabinet and, if necessary, the Nevis Island Administration to enter into development agreements for the establishment of special sustainability zones on real property within St. Christopher and Nevis, and to provide for related or incidental matters, otherwise known as the Special Sustainability Zones Authorization Bill 2025.
The bill entitled Special Sustainability Zones Authorization Bill 2025 has been read a first time. Next item on the order paper.
Public Business Bills, second reading.
I recognize the Honourable Member for St. Christopher 8.
Madam Deputy Speaker, I rise once again, of course with your leave, to lead the debate of and have read for a second time in this Honourable House the bill shortly entitled the National Lotteries Authority Bill 2025. This seeks to change the way lotteries are run in St. Kitts and Nevis. The bill is designed to ensure that our citizens receive direct and structured benefits from every dollar spent on lottery games within our borders. For years, the system has been structured in a way where external operators collect the money, but the country receives only a small return, Madam Deputy Speaker. While our people continue to spend on lottery tickets, most of the profits and even some of the winnings leave the country. The government receives a flat licensing fee, around $50,000 per year, and none of the revenue is guaranteed to be spent on youth programs, sports development, or even health-related services in the Federation. Therefore, Madam Deputy Speaker, this bill proposes to complete shift that situation. It creates a locally run, professionally managed national lottery system that ensures all lottery income and profits stay in the country, creates employment, and funds essential social services. What are the economic benefits, Madam Deputy Speaker? The proposed system under a National Lotteries Authority is projected to generate. I was shocked, Madam Deputy Speaker, when I asked for an analysis of what happens with lottery here in St. Kitts and Nevis. The lottery system presently generates around easy $70 million per year. And of that, the only thing that is paid directly to the government is $50,000 of $70 million that is generated. And hardly anybody in St. Kitts win. So it's like they're just taking the money out of St. Kitts and Nevis. That cannot continue, Madam Deputy Speaker. I'm not talking about $7 million, $70 million. Of that, approximately easy $10 to $15 million will be allocated every year to social services. This can help with our social services. For example, we are talking about national health insurance. This can go, for example, some can go towards that to help to make sure we can have a national health insurance that works for everybody in St. Kitts and Nevis. That is too much money to be leaving our federation. This money can be kept here and help to further advance the lives of our people, Madam Deputy Speaker. This money will be set aside before any other spending is done, no longer absorbed into general government revenue. There's also a direct employment benefit. A local subsidiary will be established. Approximately 20 nationals will be directly employed, with many more receiving income as sale agents, etc. This will provide much more jobs for our people. Importantly, winnings will be paid locally. You're going to have people from Brown Hill who could win. Every time the lottery is drawn, is somebody from St. Kitts and Nevis who would win. Can you imagine that? Because no, it's going to be, the lottery is going to be local. You have to be here to play. So it means, therefore, there's somebody from St. Kitts and Nevis who will win. So when we hear lottery, $500,000 jackpot, nobody from St. Kitts and Nevis winning that. But in this case, when it is home, our people will be winning that amount. So this will transform people's lives directly if you win. And if you don't win and you play, because we know people play, the money that is gone, the millions of dollars that come in, will be used in services that would benefit the whole of the population. For example, in the area of setting up our national health insurance system and universal health care. Madam Deputy Speaker, I also want to say that importantly, winnings will be paid locally, as I said, and all procurement for goods and services, such as printing, advertising, equipment, will be sourced domestically where possible. This keeps the money in circulation within the Federation. This is a whole new sector, you know, a whole new sector that is already operating. But this $70 million that I'm talking about, almost all of it leaves St. Kitts and Nevis. It's like somebody comes in here and we say, just take it. And nothing is left. This is going to create jobs, a whole new sector for us. Not that it's happening already, so we can't bury our head in the sand and say it's not happening. But we are making sure that the benefits come to our people here in St. Kitts and Nevis. Winnings will be paid locally. No one will need to wait for foreign verification or engage overseas companies to receive prize money locally. So how the bill works in practical terms? The National Lotteries Authority Bill does the following in clear and functional terms. It establishes the National Lotteries Authority, NLA, as a body corporate. It will be governed by a 7-member board appointed by the Minister of Finance. This authority will have exclusive control over all lotteries and games of chance in the country, excluding casinos. This exclusivity is critical for ensuring proper control, enforcement, and transparency. The NLA will be empowered to contract a professional operator with experience in lottery systems to provide upfront capital, provide the technology and infrastructure, and train our local staff. Any such operator will set up terminals and video lottery machines in approved locations, provide software and ticketing systems, train sale agents and retailers, collect and report revenues daily, ensure prizes are paid promptly, submit detailed monthly financial statements, transfer a fixed percentage of proceeds to the Good Cause Fund that will fund stuff like medical insurance. All of these activities will be monitored by the NLA board and audited annually. Money will stay in the country, Madam Deputy Speaker. All revenue from ticket sales will be deposited in a bank account held in St. Kitts and Nevis. The money is not going to go outside. This is a major change from the current system where revenue is often processed abroad. Prices will be paid out locally, as mentioned. Commissions to agents, salaries for staff, and contracts for services such as advertising and printing will be awarded to domestic vendors, keeping the money circulating within the economy. Unlike before, no proceeds will leave our country unless legally and contractually required for licensed services. Funding for social causes, as mentioned, the bill requires that a portion of net profits be spent on three things. And I can say can be spent on youth development, in the area of sports, health services, fundamentally, health services. These allocations must be approved by the Minister of Finance, and the National Lottery Authority must publish an annual report showing how the funds were used. The Minister of Finance can also direct that funds be distributed fairly across the country. Proper oversight and financial control, Madam Deputy Speaker. All NLA financial accounts must be independently audited every year. The audit report must be laid before the National Assembly. The authority will benefit from tax and customs exemptions, enabling more funds to be used for national purposes. The authority is also required to comply with all anti-money laundering, counter-terrorism financing, and know your customer laws. This ensures full alignment with local and international financial regulations. Madam Deputy Speaker, the Gaming Commission, which functions through the Financial Services Regulatory Commission, is the chief regulatory authority for all forms of licensed gaming activities in St. Christopher and Nevis, and will continue to be the regulator of the NLA even with the passage of this bill. Its statutory mandate under the Gaming Control Act includes the following: issuing, renewing, restricting, or revoking gaming, racing, and lottery licenses, as well as supplier and employee registrations. Conducting examinations and investigations to ensure that all gaming operators comply with legal standards, internal controls, and anti-money laundering laws. Monitoring audited financial statements, verifying revenue reports, and enforcing proper record keeping by gaming entities. Enforcing prohibitions on underage gambling, swindling, and cheating. Maintaining exclusion and self-exclusion lists, and promoting responsible gaming. Imposing administrative penalties and issuing fixed penalty notices for regulatory breaches. Advising the minister, making rules, and collaborating with law enforcement and financial intelligence units to safeguard the gaming sector from criminal infiltration, money laundering, and terrorist financing. Even where certain certain statutory entities like the National Lotteries Authority are exempt from specific procedural provisions, such as Section 18, if we go to Section 18 of the bill being debated here, the Gaming Commission retains system-wide oversight to ensure that all gaming activities in the Federation is conducted with transparency, integrity, and accountability. Madam Deputy Speaker, that is very important. No private company or foreign operator will be allowed to run lotteries unless contracted by the NLA. Any attempt to conduct illegal lotteries will attract a fine of up to $50,000 or imprisonment for up to 2 years. This ensures clarity, order, and fairness in the gaming industry. A proven model that works, regionally tested, Madam Deputy Speaker. This is not a theory. When I spoke to others from other territories about their lottery, and they asked me, how much millions are you getting from your lottery yearly to pump into helping your people? I said, the only thing we get is $50,000 in tax. They are telling me they're collecting $15 and $20 million. I can't believe this up to now, Madam Deputy Speaker. Totally shocked that $70 million is moving out of St. Kitts yearly, and all that we get is $50,000. Madam Deputy Speaker, this model has worked in other Caribbean countries with results that are clear and measurable. For example, Grenada. Grenada's National Lotteries Authority has been directly responsible for scholarship programs, support for primary and secondary school sports, and cultural festivals, including carnival and national celebrations. The investment in technology, such as the Abrazo online system, has increased transparency, expanded retail points from 46 to 78, and improved efficiency across the entire network. Madam Deputy Speaker, in Guyana, the Guyana Lottery Company has contributed billions to the National Treasury.
Currency sign language.
Huh? Well, you still be millions, even if you convert it. Well, I'm thinking of millions here, at least, Madam Deputy Speaker. Those funds have supported a wide range of community projects, from maternal and child care, health to education support, youth empowerment, and care for the elderly. The company provides direct employment to over 60 persons and indirect income for more than 200 agents across the country. Lottery prizes have helped citizens pay off mortgages, invest in small businesses, and build financial security for their families. The good thing about these, Madam Deputy Speaker, is that if we have a draw every month, is every month a Kittition or Nevis going to win something. When we do it at the quarter, same thing. When we do the big draws of millions, same thing, Madam Deputy Speaker. Our people are going to have the benefit all around from this. In Dominica, for example, the National Lottery was able to respond to a national emergency following Tropical Storm Erica. The Dominican National Lottery provided $86,000 in vouchers to victims in 2 communities there. $86,000. These vouchers, imagine they give these vouchers, and here in St. Kitts and Nevis is only $50,000 a year. And they were able to give these vouchers in 2 communities following a heavy tropical storm. These vouchers were redeemable for household and reconstruction items, directly supporting families who lost properties and livelihoods. This is what real community responsiveness looks like and how this can benefit our people. Madam Deputy Speaker, another country, the St. Lucia National Lottery. I mean, when I meet with these leaders, they laugh after me all the time. Laugh after me. They're telling me of the millions. Just for this. Nothing else at all. They don't dare. Those are my colleagues. They say, PM, what are you doing? Yeah? Millions and millions of dollars, and all you're getting is $50,000 a year. That is unbelievable. And so we did our own study. I'm reiterating it. We did our own study, and it's $70 million. That is played in the lottery, and only $50,000 in taxes per year. You sure it's 50,000? Wow. In licensing, I have to check that again. The St. Lucia National Lottery underwent a major transformation starting in 2005, when an operator took over its management and operations. At the time, the lottery faced low participation, weak brand recognition, and minimal support for local good causes. The operator introduced a comprehensive restructuring strategy that included hiring and training of a local workforce, ensuring knowledge transfer and employment, expanding distribution from 75 to 125, introducing new games including instant tickets and midday draws, upgrading technology and improving visibility and efficiency of retail operations. And I'm speaking a little fast, right? Yes. As a result, average monthly sales increased by 60% in the first year, and over a 10-year period, the business experienced 400% growth. One of the key achievements was expanding the player base. In 2005, we recognized. But what we are saying here, Madam Deputy Speaker, is that all of this benefited the people of St. Lucia. Here in St. Kitts and Nevis, we already play the lottery, but we are not benefiting from it, Madam Deputy Speaker. Currently, we operate under an outdated 1957 Act. The government has historically granted ad hoc contracts to foreign companies to run lottery games without any statutory structure or proper public benefit provisions. In 2021, we adjusted gaming laws to introduce proper licensing and regulatory systems, but those laws did not provide for a dedicated national lottery. This bill fills that gap. The model we are adopting is the same as used in St. Lucia, Dominica, St. Vincent and the Grenadines, Grenada, and Guyana. These countries have shown that exclusive national lotteries can be run successfully with strong public benefit and local control. So, Madam Deputy Speaker, as I wrap up my contribution to this bill, I would say that this allows us to take control of our lottery sector, ensure that all revenues and profits stay in St. Kitts and Nevis, and establish a reliable, transparent source of funding for social development, especially as we are seeking to have universal health care here in St. Kitts and Nevis. It is a financial management tool that will help us grow our economy as well and help to give our people more support. The bill is modeled on proven successes in Grenada, Guyana, Dominica, St. Lucia, and elsewhere across the region. We are ensuring that from today onwards, our citizens receive direct and structured benefits from every dollar spent on lottery games within our borders. Madam Deputy Speaker, I want to make a confession, you know. The first person who brought this to my attention wasn't the leaders of the country, it was my wife. She said, tell me about your lottery system. I said, I don't know about it. She said, we in St. Vincent own our lottery system. So I asked the Prime Minister there. I asked the Prime Minister of Grenada. I asked the Prime Minister of St. Lucia. And all of them told me the same thing, that the millions. And so we ordered a formal study to determine the revenue that can be derived. And $70 million is the answer that came back. When we compare that number to the other countries based on GDP and so forth, it is a real number. It is very, very real, because this is what these countries are benefiting. Millions of dollars that they collect that they're able to help their people. And in addition to that, the jobs and the spin-off. And in addition to all of that, the profit that is made is then spent on the people. So it's a win-win-win-win-win all around. This would create a brand new sector in St. Kitts and Nevis, and this will help us to achieve many of our national goals, especially in the areas of social security. In the sense that I'm talking about our social safety net, and especially in the area of healthcare. So with that, Madam Deputy Speaker, I think the argument is clear that we need to nationalize our lottery and let us benefit from it and stop allowing others to take tens of millions of dollars out of our country each year, and all we are getting is a pittance in return. May it please you, Madam Deputy Speaker.
Thank you, Honourable Member for St. Christopher 8. I recognize the Honourable Attorney General, but before you give your presentation, Honourable Members, permit me to place on record that the National Assembly has received the fiat for the National Lotteries Authority Bill 2025. The fiat was sent by Her Excellency the Governor General to the Minister of Finance and thereafter sent to the Office of the Speaker. So I just wanted to put that on record. Honourable Attorney General, you may proceed.
Grateful, Madam Deputy Speaker. I wish to second the motion and to contribute to the debate on the National Lotteries Authority Bill 2025. And my role today, Madam Deputy Speaker, is to offer a comprehensive explanation of the National Lotteries Authority Bill, clause by clause, so that the honourable members of this House and the general public may appreciate both its technical construct and its policy significance. I'll start by clause 1. That cites the Act with its name, and it marks what we believe, Madam Deputy Speaker, is a modern statutory regime for the conduct of public lotteries and games of chance in St. Christopher and Nevis. Clause 2 deals with interpretation. It introduces key concepts such as agent, games of chance, and lottery, and references critical legislation such as the Anti-Terrorism Act, the Proceeds of Crime and Asset Recovery Act, and the Financial Services Regulatory Commission Act. And this ensures that our lotteries framework is aligned with our broader legislative and financial integrity architecture. Clause 3 deals with the application of the Gaming Control Act, and this is very important, Madam Deputy Speaker. The National Lotteries Authority is going to be regulated by the Gaming Commission. So this clause ensures that the regulatory umbrella of the Gaming Control Act remains intact, and the NLA will operate within the oversight of the Gaming Board, maintaining continuity in national gaming supervision. Clause 4, Madam Deputy Speaker, establishes the authority as a new statutory body with full corporate powers, including the right to sue and be sued, and this marks a shift from the informal or ministry-controlled operations to a legally robust corporate governance structure. Clause 5, Madam Deputy Speaker, deals with the powers and duties of the authority. This outlines the wide-ranging powers of the authority, from organizing and controlling lotteries to entering joint ventures and engaging experienced third-party operators. It also mandates financial self-sufficiency, and that's very important. It mandates financial self-sufficiency, so the National Lotteries Authority is not going to be coming to the government for any money. And that self-sufficiency will be dealt with prizes, reserve funds, and liabilities supported by revenues. Clause 6 deals with the responsibility for operating lotteries, and the authority shall have the sole lawful operator of public lotteries and games of chance in the Federation, ending the era of fragmented and ad hoc arrangements, Madam Deputy Speaker. The authority under Clause 7 is governed by a 7-member board appointed by the Minister of Finance, bringing in multidisciplinary expertise, finance, law, IT, etc. And appointments are time-bound, publicly gazetted, and revocable, ensuring accountability. So the National Lotteries Authority will operate like most other statutory bodies within the Federation. Section 8 speaks about the validity of acts of the authority, and it protects the authority's operations from legal paralysis due to administrative defects like unfilled vacancies or minor procedural irregularities. Clause 9 deals with the appointment of a general manager who will be the leader, the operational leader of the authority, and appointed by the board with ministerial approval, and their presence at board meetings, except special circumstances, ensures coherence between the governance of the authority and execution. Clause 10, Madam Deputy Speaker, speaks about the appointment of officers and agents. The board or the authority or professional lottery operator acting on its behalf may hire agents under written contract to distribute and market lottery products. This enables flexibility, territory-wide retail operations while maintaining chain of custody. So in other words, Madam Deputy Speaker, there will be individuals that will participate in this new economy. So persons that will sell lottery tickets, persons who will have the one-arm bandits, and all of those different agents of the National Lotteries Authority will be audited by the National Lotteries Authority so that there's tight supervision and a chain of command in those operations. So it's not just the National Lottery Authority doing everything on its own. There'll be persons, small businesses, who will be able to take advantage of the National Lotteries operations. Clause 11 deals with the committees. So the minister may establish committees of the board to examine specific issues. For example, there could be an AML committee, which is specially assigned to deal with anti-money laundering, counter-terrorist financing issues as part of the board. So that clause gives flexibility to have technical consultations and compliance reviews, etc. Clause 12, Madam Deputy Speaker, deals with the protection of members. Like most statutory corporations, board members acting in good faith are indemnified from personal liability, and this is a standard clause to ensure that directors are fearless in their decision-making once they act in good faith. Clause 13 deals with meetings and procedure of the board, quorum, voting, special meetings, minute-keeping, etc. Clause 14 deals with disclosure of interests. So if there's anyone in the board who has a conflict, they must disclose it. So it's an anti-conflict of interest clause, and members must declare their interests and recuse themselves from decisions that involve conflicts of interest. Naturally, this is a transparency provision and reflects the good governance efforts the government is making government-wide. Clause 15 creates a seal of the board, which is standard for corporations. Clause 16 deals with service of notices that should be addressed to the general manager, etc. 17 deals with powers to delegate functions to different committees and individual members within the Act. And then 18 deals with the remuneration of board members or co-opted advisors to be compensated from the authority's funds as approved by the minister. So there's still ministerial oversight. And then there are 19 is policy directions. The minister retains the power to issue general policy directions similar to most statutory corporations in the Federation, including the equitable geographic distribution of funds. For example, as the Honourable Member for St. Christopher 8 and the Prime Minister said, the monies raised and the profits raised by the National Lotteries Authority will go towards the people of St. Kitts and Nevis. So the minister can give policy directions as to the proper distribution of those profits throughout the country, not skipping any particular areas or focusing the profits in one area as we have seen in the past by other administrations. Clause 20 deals with the funds of the authority, which includes sale revenue, appropriations, other assets, and it has to be deposited in approved bank accounts in St. Kitts and Nevis, ensuring transparency and auditability. Clause 21 deals with the borrowing powers. The authority may borrow with ministerial approval, but that is naturally a last resort. Then there's section 22, which says the minister may guarantee the authority's debt if called upon. That's another last resort. 23, application of the funds. The funds must be used by law for youth, sports, and health programs approved by the minister. And this clause codifies the direct social dividend that the member for number 8, St. Christopher 8, and the mover of the bill reference. There's also a reserve fund. So there's a reserve fund to be created for contingencies with the minister's consent, and this creates resilience and future-proof operations. As we saw, for example, with the lottery in Dominica, it was used after a natural disaster to assist with persons fixing their homes and so forth. So that reserve fund is there for a rainy day. Clause 25 deals with accounts and audit, and that the authority must keep proper books, prepare annual financial statements, and submit an independent audit, and those matters are brought before the National Assembly for report. Then clause 26 speaks about the auditor's report, which must be submitted within 3 months after the year end for the authority, enforcing timeliness in financial reporting, like most companies and statutory corporations must do. Clause 27 says that the board must submit an annual operation and financial report to the minister, who must lay it before the National Assembly, ensuring that there is parliamentary oversight. Clause 28 deals with exemptions from stamp duty. The NLA, which is really for a public purpose, is exempt from stamp duties, registration and search fees, etc., allowing the money to go directly into the community. There's also a tax exemption in section 29 because it is a public purpose vehicle. There's no need for it to pay taxes like a private corporation. Then section 30 deals with the same thing with import duties. 31 says that any unauthorized lottery is punishable by fines or imprisonment. Corporate offenders face enhanced penalties. So in other words, if you're a business operating a game of chance or a lottery which is not regulated, there is a penalty, and it prevents illegal betting and ensures that there is exclusivity with the NLA for those types of matters. Section 32 deals with minutes, board minutes, which are duly signed, are admissible in the court. This is a standard clause. Section 33 says that the authority must comply with all AML, CFT, that's anti-money laundering and counter-financing of terrorism laws, including the POCARA, Anti-Terrorism Act, and other standards issued by the FSRC. And this ensures that there's financial integrity within the NLA. Section 34 deals with regulations. The Testing 1 to 3. Looks like it's back on. Okay. Yes, Madam Deputy Speaker, if I'll go back just one step. yes, we're repealing the Lotteries Act, which is outdated. But when we go to committee stage, there were 3 amendments we discovered during the consultation phase after the first reading, which I intend to propose during the committee stage, which is in clause 9 and clauses 10, there is a use of the word board when it really should be authority. So those are minor technical changes. But there's one particular additional clause, 36, which we need to add to the legislation, which was brought to our attention by the FSRC. This act is going to come into force when it is gazetted, if it is passed. However, the exclusivity is only intended to come into force from January 1st, 2026. However, there are some games of chance licensees that have their annual subscription that go into 2026. So how we intend to deal with that is that we are creating a transitional clause which will read, this act shall come into force on the date of publication except for provision of Section 6. Section 6 deals with the exclusivity of operating lotteries and games of chances. Section 2, which we propose, will say, the provisions of Section 6 shall come into force on the first day of January 2026, except in relation to the licensee holding a valid license under the Gaming Control Act, who may continue to operate under that license until its expiration or revocation. So in other words, if a person was granted a license on March 12th, 2025, for a year, they will be allowed to operate until March 11th, 2026. However, anyone whose license expired at the end of 2025, they will no longer be allowed to operate because of the exclusivity that the National Lottery Authority will have pursuant to this legislation as of January 1st, 2026. I want to end by saying, Madam Deputy Speaker, that to echo the sentiment, this is a matter of control. National lottery authorities in our neighboring islands have been very successful. They have been able to provide millions of dollars in youth programs, sports programs, and in health programs. And there's no reason why we should not similarly modernize our lotteries regime so that the benefits of our lotteries, not just in the winnings, but in the social impact, remain within the Federation. And that is the intention of the National Lotteries Authority, and that is why I pray that this Honourable House will safely pass it. May it please you, Madam Deputy Speaker.
Thank you, Honourable Attorney General. I recognize the Honourable Member for Nevis 9.
Madam Speaker, I had not intended to say anything, and I promise that I will be less than 5 minutes. I want to say that I understand what the government has come here today to do. The numbers that have been set out by the Honourable Mover of the bill are quite eye-opening, quite shocking, if I can say that. If those numbers are accurate, the Honourable Mover is saying that some $70 million a year is being generated here by lotteries. And so having control of that, and indeed what has been said, that of course in other countries, including some of our neighbors, the money is collected by government from lotteries and the operation of lotteries, that those monies are put to good use. Sports, social infrastructure, as we have heard, education, scholarships, and the like. I want, however, to sound a cautionary note, because whilst we have heard, as is the position of governments everywhere, the good things that will come from the government localizing the lottery and taking more control of the lottery, I am not hearing much being said from the government benches about how do we protect our people. You see this thing called gambling, because when we say lotteries, maybe sometimes people don't recognize that we're talking about gambling. And this thing called gambling can, for many, be ruinous. It can be something that is addictive and something that leads to financial ruin. And whilst I'm not standing in opposition to what the government is seeking to do today, because I well recognize the good rationale and reasons behind it, I feel that whatever money is being generated by this new approach, that there has to be some funding earmarked to educate our people. I have stood in this Parliament in the past, Madam Speaker, Deputy Speaker, and I have supported the efforts of the government on financial literacy, where they have sought through some, in my view, groundbreaking programs, the Aspire program more specifically, to educate our people about their finances, how financing works, and I think that those measures are commendable. But today I am hearing, listen, people are gambling, they're spending money, let's see how the government could get a bigger share of the money that they're spending so that we can turn around and do good things in the community for the people who are gambling and spending money, among others. And that, I believe in some places they refer to these things as sin taxes. You hear that? We're taxing sin. And if you could tax sin and use it to save people, I suppose that's a good thing. So my simple point in rising on this debate is to say to the government that whilst you seek to raise money from the operation of lotteries within St. Kitts and Nevis, that there be some focus on putting some of that money into education and into encouraging our people as much as possible. If they're going to game responsibly. Just as we say, well, you can drink alcohol, but drink responsibly. Because we know gambling has ruined many a man and woman. Gambling has caused serious financial pain and harm to a lot of families. And I would want at least there to be in this House an appreciation of the negatives that could potentially be associated with gaming, and as a consequence, the encouragement of our people that there will be part and parcel of the money that we anticipate, some effort at education, re-education, continuous education, because I think only so can we really say to the Kittitian and Nevisian public that, listen, these programs are dovetailing into each other. Put differently, Madam Deputy Speaker, I would have difficulty supporting Aspire, which is intended to educate and help our people in relation to their financial management, and at the same time appearing to support gambling, which arguably does the opposite. Now, if you win, the Prime Minister says everybody going to get a chance to win, then that's a good thing perhaps. But what if you lose and you're a perennial loser? Or what if, as I hear sometimes, you win a little something and so you get the little sweetness now in your mouth. You start to say, boy, I win 10,000, let me keep going. And you lose not only that, you lose everything else. You start to borrow money from friends and family. You start to do various things. And so we have, whether it is marijuana, whether it is gaming, whether it is alcohol, whatever it is we come into this house and talk about, we have to, I believe, be open in terms of our debate and our presentations and say, listen, this is the upside. The upside is we will make money. When we look around the region, we see other countries with their lotteries commission earning money for good purposes, to be put to good uses. But there is a downside as well. And how do we manage the downside risk? Everything in life we do, Madam Deputy Speaker, has pluses and minuses. So my simple concern in my 5 minutes that I've given myself is to say to the government that I would like very much if, as they talk about raising money from gaming, from lotteries, that they also include in that matrix some effort at education and some effort at encouraging our people not to become addicted to this, because the world has shown some serious propensity for addiction to things like gambling. And that is why I decided, since I didn't hear it from the other side, to get up and lend my voice. Thank you.
Thank you, Honourable Member for Nevis 9. I recognize the Honourable Member for Nevis 10.
Thank you very much, Madam Deputy Speaker. I rise to make a brief contribution to the bill before this Honourable House as well. The National Lotteries Authority Bill 2025. Madam Deputy Speaker, I think the bill is very well intended, and I am still pretty much baffled by the figures that were presented by the mover of the bill. And I think generally that the gaming industry should be properly regulated based on the fact that in the recent past we have heard a lot about scams and so on. And I think this bill would also try to prevent such scams from taking place here in St. Kitts and Nevis. But I do have a few observations and probably some questions as well. Because when the mover spoke, the mover said that when the lottery is played, people from St. Kitts and Nevis must win, right? I know over the past years when lotteries being played here in St. Kitts and Nevis, I think we are tied to some lotteries in the region. Is it that the structure of the lottery will change now and it will just be for St. Kitts and Nevis only? And so when you play, the money cannot leave and go overseas? I think that is what the bill is intended to. Okay. Bearing in mind, that is what will happen. We have a small population in St. Kitts and Nevis. Will we still be able to raise that type of money, those type of funds that the mover would have spoken about, the 70 million and so on? Is it that we are pumping so much money into lotteries? Is it that we are gambling so much in St. Kitts and Nevis? Because I guess what you spoke about in terms of the lottery, that does not include when people go to the hotel to gamble. So are we saying that we are generating that much money from the lotteries, from the gaming industry? All right. Okay. Well, I guess I have that question answered. Because I was a little bit concerned when I heard the number, and my thinking was that the number was probably a region-wide number and not a St. Kitts and Nevis number. All right. Okay. Now, the other thing, Madam Deputy Speaker, of course, the mover and the second of the bill would have done quite a lot of explanation. My little concern or questions, when we spoke about the appointment of the board, I see that there is need for the appointment of a 7-member board. Is there need for 7 members on the board of the lottery? Or are we just, because I know almost every time, a lot of the time when we come to move bills and pass bills, there's always the need to appoint a board, or appoint an authority. And many of the times, I believe sometimes the boards are overpopulated. And the intention here is to continue to regulate and for the government to get a bigger portion of the funds that are generated from the lotteries. But at the same time, if we have a large board, and then in Section 10, it also speaks about appointment of officers and agents. Then in Section 11, it also speaks to the appointment of committees. So we have a board of 7. Then, of course, we have to appoint officers, and then we have to appoint committees. In Section 11, it speaks to committees, but I think it's a little vague. It doesn't say how many committees will be appointed. It doesn't say how many persons will be on each committee. And so I believe that needs a little bit of clarification, Madam Deputy Speaker. And will the committee members be paid just like the board members? All of this needs to be clarified because, of course, if you're making the money and you're spending back all of the money on the board and on the committees and on the persons who will be appointed by the board, then, of course, that will diminish the kind of returns and diminish the kinds of profits that you can get from this bill. Also over in section 23, it speaks to the application of funds, Madam Deputy Speaker. The funds of the authority shall be applied for the purpose authorized by this Act and towards youth and sports projects and health programs approved by the board with the consent of the minister. I am wondering, why are we restricting the funds to just youth and sports and health programs? There are many other areas here in the Federation where funds can be utilized. And so I was wondering what is the reasoning behind limiting the use of the funds to youth and sports and health. In addition to that, if you're utilizing the funds for youth and health and sports, what is the proportion, what is the percentage that will be utilized for these specific areas? Will you be utilizing 80% for health and 20% for youth and sports? Will you be utilizing 50% for youth and sports and 50% for health? I think all of that should be made clear in the bill, Madam Deputy Speaker. Because, of course, all ministers in the government would want the funds to be used in their specific area. And so if the funds are generated, and it is stated in the bill that it will be for youth and sports and health, the minister responsible for youth and sports will want a bigger chunk for that ministry. The minister responsible for health will want a bigger chunk for that ministry as well. So I think it should be fully stated here as to the proportion or the percentage that will be used for those specific areas. And similarly, in section 24, where it says the authority shall, with the consent of the minister, establish a reserve fund for specific contingencies. Here again, I think there's need to be clarity in terms of what proportion should go to the reserve fund. So I just wanted to ask those questions for clarity, Madam Deputy Speaker. But I think, as I said, generally the bill is well intended, and I think it should be supported, because we really need to ensure that once all of this money is being generated from lotteries and gaming, that the state and the citizens of St. Kitts and Nevis should, in fact, benefit more from these funds. May it please you, Madam Deputy Speaker.
Thank you, Honourable Member for Nevis 10. Any other presentation? I will now invite the mover to give his wrap-up.
Thank you very much.
I recognize the Honourable Member for St. Christopher 8.
Madam Deputy Speaker, I want to thank all the honourable members who have lent their voice to this most important bill. With respect to what was said by the member from number 9 opposite, I share that our people need to be educated financially, and that is why we have started the Aspire program, which he alluded to. That, just to update our country, that will become part of our curriculum in September in the schools, so that all of our young people would have access to that type of financial education, Madam Deputy Speaker. And so that will not only stay there, that will spread across the Federation to ensure that our people are well educated. The matter is this, Madam Deputy Speaker. These numbers that I mentioned today are numbers that exist now. They exist now. It's happening right now. And as I said, we cannot bury our head in the sand, because if we do, every year, somebody is going to be taking this $70 million from St. Kitts and Nevis, and all we get is a pittance, $50,000 in what is it? That's you're paying what, a fee or something? Which is, I cannot believe that we allowed this over the years. Just calculate that money over the years, Madam Deputy Speaker. And this came before this Parliament in 2021. Where there was an adjustment or amendment to the bill, to the law then. And the reason why this number is so shocking, I don't think anybody ever suspected that the number was so high. And I don't think anybody ordered a formal study of the sector. When I saw the number, I was totally shocked, just like my member opposite from St. Christopher, Nevis. 11.
Nevis
10. When he asked those questions, those are the same questions I asked. The numbers are shocking. But the reason why I also know it was done by a reputable organization who studied this. And the reason why I know the numbers are real, when you look at our GDP and you compare it to another country, and our GDP might be higher, GDP per capita is higher, which means we have more disposable income. The numbers are actually matching. So and when they tell me how much money they generate, and I ask them, you serious? One prime minister told me, well, I make $15 to $20 million in profit per year. I said, really? He said, that is how much you generate? He went on to say, not a man touch me lottery in my country. That's what he said to me. So we know that there are people who are going to enter into gaming and so forth, that we can't bury our head in the sand. It's like, it's like saying don't give condoms to some people. I'm a medical doctor. I got to be real. There are young people out there having sex, and it's good to give them condoms because they're going to get STDs and pregnancy and all sorts of things. It is a real phenomenon. While we are teaching them abstinence and all of that, we have to also know that there will be a certain percentage of them who will not hear that and for whatever reason engage. If we don't become real and give them condoms, you're going to see teenage pregnancy, STDs in the young and so forth. I am not burying my head in the sand. I will give you all the education, but the real thing is, we know that some people are still going to participate. And if they're going to participate, let us make sure that this benefit our country as much as possible. It's just like alcohol. If today you say alcohol is illegal, the amount of Hammond, call it Hammond?
You know.
You're going to see all the smoke coming from, the mountains around St. Kitts.
Or greeny from Nevis.
Or greeny from Nevis, that's what they call it. Because man, go up there, as they used to say, distilling the alcohol up there. So again, we're going to say, boy, so the conclusion was reached. Let us see how we can regulate the sector. So I want to say that these numbers are real. This is what our people are doing. The point with financial education, we have launched that. That will be introduced into our schools. And therefore, we can harness some of this funding that will be generated anyway for our people. Let me say another thing. If you don't regulate this industry, the industry cannot disappear. There are some things, once you have human beings together, they cannot disappear. Every day more, I come to really understand the words of Jesus even deeper. That sometimes we just need some grace. Because if you put enough human beings together, everything that some of them can do, they will participate in. We have to find ways of how we regulate it, how we manage it, how we help people, how we deal with it on a daily basis. And this area is a serious area. You know how we lose money too? Because we don't regulate our space, there are people who are doing sport gambling using our space across the world, generating a next set of millions of dollars over which we have no control, using our space to gamble. You have people in St. Kitts and Nevis doing international gambling. Money's leaving St. Kitts and Nevis, and we make nothing from it. Millions. They're using our space for that. They're using our space for so many other things, and we are not reining them in, and we continue to lose and lose and lose and lose. And we are saying today that we know this money is being generated. We are not encouraging anybody to gamble. We are just simply saying that if you are doing what you are doing, we are going to seek to regulate it and derive as much benefit from it as possible. Madam Deputy Speaker, the other issue with alcohol, let me tell you one of the errors we made with alcohol. And we are almost making the same mistake with cannabis. Alcohol, we said that the people who used to distill in the mountains, that they shouldn't distill. While we stopped them and the police used to chase them out of the mountains, we were bringing in alcohol from England and Europe and spending millions of dollars on alcohols that were imported. Look at the Caribbean or any other product. I have nothing against them. But if we had brought our people who were actually distilling some of the best Hammond in the mountains and set them up to become proper business people so that they could make a product that can be sold in the international market, they could have sold it locally and internationally. Instead of becoming producers and sellers, we created a system where we became consumers. And today, we are trying to launch a bottle here and a bottle there, trying to play catch up. But a big part of the market has already gone. It's the same thing with cannabis. While we are here discussing, yes, I hear so. I want to see that they're on a nice shelf, Nevis Hammond, selling in Europe, because we are buying their champagne and so forth from France and other sparkling wines from other places. Same thing with cannabis. What's going to happen in the next few years? We're going to be more cannabis presently is coming into St. Kitts than we are producing. I can tell you that. We have become now net importers of cannabis and not exporters of cannabis. Not that I'm promoting we export it, but I'm saying that millions of dollars in St. Kitts and Nevis is spent on this industry. Most of it, not legally of course, but it is a serious leak of revenue from our country. If we don't find a way to regulate that industry, we're going to continue to lose millions and millions of dollars. In that same vein, Madam Speaker, I would like to bring to this House a bill where we can raise some money from the alcohol, the tobacco, the sugary thing, the things that are killing us. Tobacco killing us. Alcohol the same way. And the health sector has to pay for all of this. I believe a tax should be placed on these things. The tax should create a fund, and that fund should help to take care of people who get sick. Because people would smoke all their life, get lung cancer, all sorts of things, and go to the hospital and get care almost free. Think about it. You'll drink a lot of alcohol, get your liver messed up and other health issues, go to the hospital or go to our health sector and get most of the care free. A lot of the cancers we have around here is because of smoking and alcohol, especially the alcohol which people think might be innocent. And the processed meats like luncheon meat and so forth. All of these are things that people are engaging in that are causing serious harm, but we are not benefiting anything. The benefits are derived by others, and we are paying for the consequences. Well, if you're going to engage in it, well, let us do away something so that we can get some of the monies involved in it so that we can pay for when things go wrong, or even help to pay to prevent people from engaging in these activities. However, they are part and parcel of who we are. So if we bring another bill in here that helps us to tax these things a little bit more, and we create the fund, and that fund now can be used for universal health care, which means everybody in St. Kitts and Nevis can have access to health care, and also a preventative mechanism to make sure we help our people to prevent these things will actually be dealt with more effectively, I would put forward. But what I want to say, Madam Deputy Speaker, as I wrap up this, that $70 million is what we are leaking from St. Kitts and Nevis only on a yearly basis. Our people are going to engage. We are going to launch our educational program to educate them. But if there's engagement in the area because it's not illegal, we should be able to derive the benefits and use those benefits to the betterment of our people here in our federation. So, Madam Deputy Speaker, as I wrap up on this bill, I wish the bill safe passage. Thank you.
Thank you, Honourable Member for St. Christopher 8. The question is that the bill entitled National Lotteries Authority Bill 2025 be read a second time. Those in favour? Aye. Those against? The ayes have it.
A bill to provide for the promotion and operation of lotteries and games of chances in St. Christopher and Nevis, establish the National Lotteries Authority as a body corporate, provide for the allocation of profits to specific social programs and projects and other related purposes, otherwise known as the National Lotteries Authority Bill 2025.
The bill entitled National Lotteries Authority Bill 2025 has been read a second time. House moves to committee stage.
Clauses 1 to 8.
The question is that clauses 1 to 8 stand part of the bill. Those in favor? Aye. Those against? The ayes have it.
Clause 9.
Madam Chair, I wish to propose that Clause 9 be amended by replacing the expression day-to-day operations of the board with the expression day-to-day operations of the authority.
The question is that the proposed amendment to Clause 9 stands part of the bill. Those in favor? Aye. Those against? The ayes have it.
Clause 10.
Madam Chair, I propose that the bill be amended in Clause 10, subsection 2, by replacing the expression representing the board with the expression representing the authority.
The question is that the proposed amendment to Clause 10 stands part of the bill. Those in favor? Aye. Those against? The ayes have it.
Clauses 11 to 35.
The question is that clauses 11 to 35 stand part of the bill. Those in favor? Aye. Those against? The ayes have it.
Madam Chair, I propose that a new clause 36 be introduced as referenced during the debate, titled transitional, and subclause 1 should read, this act shall come into force on the date of publication, except for the provisions of section 6, and subclause 2, the provisions of section 6 shall come into force on the first day of January 2026, except in relation to a licensee holding a valid license under the Gaming Control Act, Chapter 17.01, who may continue to operate under that license until its expiration or revocation.
The question is that the proposed amendment, Clause 36, stands part of the bill. Those in favor? Aye. Those against? The ayes have it.
The enacting clause.
The question is that the enacting clause stands part of the bill. Those in favor? Aye. Those against? The ayes have it.
The title.
The question is that the title stands part of the bill. Those in favor? Aye. Those against? The ayes have it. House resumes. I recognize the Honourable Member for St. Christopher 8.
Yes, thank you, Madam Deputy Speaker. With your leave, I rise again to report that the bill entitled National Lotteries Authority Bill 2025 has passed through committee stage with amendments, and I further move that the bill be read a third time and passed into law. May it please you, Madam Deputy Speaker.
Thank you, Honourable Member for St. Christopher 8. A seconder. I recognize the Honourable Attorney General.
Madam Deputy Speaker, I wish to second that motion.
Thank you, Honourable Attorney General. The question is that the bill entitled National Lotteries Authority Bill 2025 be read a third time and passed into law. Those in favour? Aye. Those against? The ayes have it.
A bill to provide for the promotion and operation of lotteries and games of chance in St. Christopher and Nevis, establish the National Lotteries Authority as a body corporate, provide for the allocation of profits to specific social programs and projects and other related purposes, otherwise known as the National Lotteries Authority Bill 2025.
The bill entitled National Lotteries Authority Bill 2025 has been read a third time and passed into law. Next bill. I recognize the Honourable Member for St. Christopher 8.
Madam Deputy Speaker, with your leave, I rise once again. As you can see, the Attorney General has put forward this agenda for the National Assembly, has us extremely busy. I think he has broken a record, you know. Reform after reform, laws after laws, advancing our great federation. I must acknowledge him for his tremendous work and his team, the Cabinet, and the House in general. Madam Deputy Speaker, I will lead the debate and have read for a second time in this Honourable House the bill shortly entitled Gaming Control Amendment Bill 2025, which is a consequential amendment to allow the National Lotteries Authority to operate. Madam Deputy Speaker, the Gaming Control Amendment Bill 2025 allows the Gaming Commission to issue a multi-year gaming license to the NLA by inserting a new section, subsection 4 into section 18. This bill exempts the National Lotteries Authority and its licensed operators from the procedural requirements that govern the renewal of gaming licenses issued by the Gaming Commission. In section 18 of the Gaming Control Act, chapter cap 1701, states as follows: a gaming license shall be valid for 1 year from the date of its issue until the 31st December of that year, and it is renewable each year on payment of the prescribed annual fee on or before the 31st day of January. 2, where a license is desirous of renewing the license, the licensee shall, let me read that again, where a licensee is desirous of renewing the licensee shall submit to the Commission a completed license renewal application form, pay all required license renewal application fees, submit due diligence information including identifying particulars for any change made to directors, shareholders, or any key gaming employees. And 3, where a license fails to comply with the requirements set out in subsection 2, the license shall not be renewed by the Commission. I'll be clear, Madam Deputy Speaker, this exemption is not a loosening of oversight, nor is it an invitation to regulatory laxity. Rather, it is a targeted refinement that recognizes this distinct statutory regime under which the NLA operates. The National Lotteries Authority is a public institution established to serve national development objectives and governed by its own comprehensive framework of internal controls, financial reporting obligations, and ministerial accountability. Section 18 of the Principal Act, as it currently stands, requires all gaming license holders to renew their licenses annually, subject to extensive due diligence and disclosure obligations. These provisions are appropriate for private sector operators. However, applying them to the NLA would create unnecessary duplication, since NLA's governance and renewal mechanisms are already embedded within the National Lotteries Authority Act and subject to direct oversight by the Minister of Finance and ultimately this Honourable House. That is very important. It still has to come here. So therefore, doing it yearly is not necessary at that next level. However, crucially, Madam Deputy Speaker, the Gaming Commission retains its overarching jurisdiction to monitor the integrity of gaming operations in the Federation. The Commission continues to play a vital role in ensuring compliance with anti-money laundering laws, financial probity, and systemic risk mitigation, even in relation to NLA. What this amendment does, it streamlines procedural oversight, not remove it. This legislative refinement mirrors best practices across the region. In jurisdictions such as St. Lucia, Barbados, state lottery authorities are similarly exempted from general gaming license renewals, yet remain firmly under public and regulatory scrutiny. Remember, every year I have to report to the National Assembly. We are aligning ourselves with a modern risk-based approach to regulation, one that distinguishes private between private profit-making enterprises and public benefit statutory bodies. Madam Deputy Speaker, I therefore commend this bill to the House as a technical but necessary amendment, one that upholds regulatory clarity, eliminates redundancy, and reinforces coherence for our legal architecture as we implement the National Lotteries Authority framework. Madam Deputy Speaker, there's nothing much more to be said. This amendment is a small amendment, but of course it dovetails with the first bill that was passed into law. So with that, Madam Deputy Speaker, may it please you.
Thank you, Honourable Member for St. Christopher 8. Seconder, I recognize the Honourable Member for St. Christopher 3.
Madam Speaker, I rise with your indulgence to second the motion before this Honourable House for the second reading of the Gaming Control Amendment Bill, and I reserve my right to speak on the matter, as this is just a follow-up on the previous bill passed in this Honourable House.
Thank you. Any other presentations? If not, I recognize the mover to give his wrap-up. I recognize the Honourable Member for St. Christopher 8.
Madam Deputy Speaker, there's nothing much more to say, and therefore, with that, I wish the bill safe passage.
The question is that the bill entitled Gaming Control Amendment Bill 2025 be read a second time. Those in favour? Aye. Those against? The ayes have it.
A bill to amend the Gaming Control Act, Cap 17.01, otherwise known as the Gaming Control Amendment Bill 2025.
The bill entitled Gaming Control Amendment Bill 2025 has been read a second time. House moves to committee stage.
Clauses 1, 2, and 3.
The question is clauses 1, 2, and 3. Stand part of the bill. Those in favour? Aye. Those against? The ayes have it.
The enacting clause.
The question is that the enacting clause stands part of the bill. Those in favour? Aye. Those against? The ayes have it.
The title.
The question is that the title stands part of the bill. Those in favour? Aye. Those against? The ayes have it. House resumes. I recognize the Honourable Member for St. Christopher 8.
Madam Deputy Speaker, with your leave, I rise once again to report to this Honourable House that the bill shortly entitled Gaming Control Amendment Bill 2025 has passed to the committee stage without amendments. I therefore move that the bill be read a third time and pass into law. May it please you, Madam Deputy Speaker.
I recognize the Honourable Member for St. Christopher 3.
Madam Deputy Speaker, I rise to second the motion.
Thank you, Honourable Member. The question is that the bill entitled Gaming Control Amendment Bill 2025 be read a third time and passed into law. Those in favour? Aye. Those against? The ayes have it.
A bill to amend the Gaming Control Act, Cap 17.01, otherwise known as the Gaming Control Amendment Bill 2025.
The bill entitled Gaming Control Amendment Bill 2025 has been read a third time and passed into law. Next bill on the order paper. I recognize the Honourable Attorney General.
Grateful, Madam Deputy Speaker. I rise to lead the debate of and have read for a second time in this Honourable House the bill shortly titled Industrial Designs Bill 2025, which was first read on July 10th, 2025, which will, Madam Deputy Speaker, for the first time in the history of St. Kitts and Nevis, establish a modern and comprehensive legal framework that enables local creators, innovators, and entrepreneurs to secure legal protection for the visual appearance of their designs. This is a significant milestone in our journey to empower innovation, foster entrepreneurship, and align our legal architecture with international intellectual property norms. The protection of industrial designs is a foundational necessity for the full development of a competitive, knowledge-based economy as envisioned in our Sustainable Island State Agenda. The Intellectual Property Office of St. Kitts and Nevis, led ably by Mrs. Jeanne Williams-Knight, has committed to modernizing our IP landscape. Earlier last year, this Honorable House passed a new Copyright Act. That law was designed to protect creatives such as musicians, app developers, choreographers, and authors. Today, we focus on another vital branch of intellectual property, the legal protection of industrial designs. That is, the look and feel of physical products. It is important to understand that each type of intellectual property serves a distinct purpose. Copyright protects original literary, musical, and artistic expressions. Patents or patents, potato, patents protect inventions and new methods. Trademarks protect distinctive business identifiers. And industrial designs protect visual innovation, the aesthetic dimension of products. For example, an inventor may patent a mango peeler for its functionality, but the unique shape and color pattern of that peeler may be protected through an industrial design. Now, Madam Deputy Speaker, many may be asking, what is an industrial design? It is about appearance, not necessarily function. It is the visual appeal of a product, its shape, lines, color, texture, or ornamentation. Madam Deputy Speaker, I have some examples to show the people and this Honorable House. An industrial design is the iconic silhouette of the Coca-Cola bottle. Coca-Cola owns that shape. Another example is the unique design of a Volkswagen Beetle. Volkswagen owns the industrial design of that. Then there are the smooth curves of an iPhone. Apple owns that industrial design. So these are all protected by industrial design rights. But here in St. Kitts and Nevis, up to now, we have had no specific legal regime or mechanism to protect this kind of creativity. The only statute on our books is a colonial era relic from 1930, the United Kingdom Designs Protection Act, which gave automatic protection to UK registered designs, but offered no protection to our own nationals. Alternatively, persons have had to try to register their designs as trademarks, but this avenue for protection is not always appropriate. This new bill, Madam Deputy Speaker, changes that. It ends 95 years of inequity. It repeals the UK Act from 1930 and creates a legal framework that finally empowers our people to protect the products they design. Be it a pair of shoes, a piece of jewelry, fashion designs, custom furniture, unique packaging, a game board, or even artisanal crafts. Now, why does this matter, Madam Deputy Speaker? Consider, and I want the Minister of Culture for the NIA to listen to this part in particular. Consider a young Kittitian on a vision who developed a visually stunning or imaginative board game. We have one. His work was actually so impressive that it was referenced at our breakfast meeting with the WIPO Director General, Darren Tang, in November 2023. Until now, with the passage of this bill, the young man had no legal recourse if someone copied his work. With this bill, he and others like him will be able to register and defend their designs both locally and globally. And this is particularly important for the orange economy, the creative sector that includes design, fashion, gaming, technology. These sectors represent an untapped growth engine, one that we must nurture with legal infrastructure. Now, let me give you some real examples, Madam Deputy Speaker, and give the people of our country some real examples. And I'm not copywriting them, so anybody can run with them. Fashion and footwear. Imagine an Nevisian shoemaker from Rice's village in Gingerland designs a line of sandals with a distinctive sole pattern and strap weaving style inspired by sugarcane fields. Industrial design protection allows that artisan to register the appearance of the sandals, not the material or the function, but the look. It gives the designer exclusive rights to prevent others from copying that aesthetic locally or in other countries through the Hague system. They can license the design to a boutique in Barbados or partner with a global e-commerce platform for royalties and make money from their creativity. Imagine a Kittian entrepreneur from St. Johnson's Village creating a new rum brand and commissions a sculptured bottle shaped like a volcano rim with custom embossing. The bottle's shape, texture, visual features can be protected by industrial design rights. Imagine someone from the village of St. Paul's who designs a physical board game with Caribbean-themed tokens, unique board layout, and decorative cards. The game's visual elements, token shapes, board patterns, box layout are protectable as industrial designs. Imagine someone from George Street designing a line of rocking chairs with uniquely carved backs resembling St. Kitts Hills. The carved pattern and overall form of the chairs are eligible for registration. Imagine someone from Newcastle, Castle, a potter with a signature line of candle holders using colorful island motifs and coral textures. The visual form, ornamentation, and finishes are protectable. This could apply to consumer devices, textile and fabric designers, merchandising for tourism. All of those, with the passage of this bill, Madam Speaker, will be able to protect their intellectual property. Now, how does this bill work, Madam Deputy Speaker? It offers two pathways for protection of industrial designs. One, national registration through the Intellectual Property Office of St. Kitts and Nevis, and two, international registration via the Hague system administered by the World Intellectual Property Organization, WIPO. Let me explain both. The first option, a designer can apply to the intellectual property here in Bastia, and I see the member for number 3, who's a very creative person, already thinking about what types of industrial designs he can create in his mind and protect and sell and monetize. You can submit your drawings or photographs of the design to the IPO. If the design is new and has individual character, it will be registered for initial 5 years and can be renewed up to 25 years, with protection being limited in St. Kitts and Nevis. So that's if you're competing locally. Now, with the Hague International Registration through WIPO's online platform, a designer can register in multiple countries, currently over 90, with a single application. If St. Kitts and Nevis is selected as a designated country, we receive notification and fees, providing a new revenue stream for the government. That's just an aside. This dual system gives local designers flexibility and access. They can protect their designs domestically or internationally or both. So that young man who created the board game in St. Kitts and Nevis can then register to the Hague system, and no one in the 90 countries registered therein could use his design, and he then could monetize it as his own. Designs that are made public without registration are still protected for 3 years from the date of public disclosure. This means there's a temporary automatic protection and ensures that even those without the means or readiness to register can enjoy some legal shield against copying. St. Kitts and Nevis has been a party to the TRIPS agreement since 1996 and to the CARICOM EU Economic Partnership Agreement since 2008. Both require the legal protection of industrial designs. This bill satisfies those obligations and finalizes our country's accession to the Hague Agreement, which we did in July 2024. The legislative draft and assistance from WIPO and the European Union Intellectual Property Office must be commended, and we must thank them. The bill and its accompanying regulations are not boilerplate at all. They were custom developed for St. Kitts and Nevis. Now, If you'd allow me, Madam Deputy Speaker, just to walk through the structure and contents of the bill, which consists of 41 sections. But I won't go through each one individually. I'll go through the different parts. Part 1 is the preliminary items with key terms, industrial design, Hague application, complex product, registrar, etc., and specifies the commencement date by ministerial order. Part 2 deals with the details of eligibility for protection as registered or unregistered designs, requires novelty and individual character, provides exclusions for designs dictated solely by function, mechanical fit, or contrary to morality, public order. Then Part 3 deals with acquisition, and registration rights. It establishes who has the right to apply, the designer or an employer, allows assignment and succession, protects joint ownership and naming rights. Part 4 deals with national applications. It outlines the process to file locally, allows up to 100 designs in a single application, provides for deferment of publication for up to 30 months. Part 5 deals with the rights conferred and limitations. It empowers the owner to prevent unauthorized commercial use, recognizes exhaustion of rights after first sale, confirms coexistence with copyright protections. Part 6 deals with the initial 5-year term renewable to 25 years as a term of protection. Unregistered designs enjoy the 3 years of protection, which I spoke of earlier, after public disclosure. So I'll give you an example. If the member for St. Christopher 1 invents a special type of wedding drape, that if that wedding drape is used, you know it is done by a particular business, or it is done by a petition or an division. He can then register that or publicly disclose that he has created that special design. And then he would have, if it is unique, 3 years of protection once he publicly discloses that this is his special type of design. And then, naturally, the best way to do it is to go and register locally or go and register to the Hague system so that there's a potential of monetizing a product. I'll give you an example, a real-world example, Madam Deputy Speaker. I met a gentleman and his family on a vacation a few years ago. We remain friends today. And he was telling us about this product that he created, that he was marketing. And we were talking about that product, and he said, yes, this is my second product. So I said, what was your first product? He said, well, I invented a baby feeding pillow. Can't remember the name, I don't want to give the wrong name, but it's available on Amazon. He went to his friend's house one day, and his friend had a newborn baby. And the friend was feeding the baby, and the baby just seemed uncomfortable, and the breastfeeder felt uncomfortable. He said to himself, they don't have something specialized for that. And you know what he did? He created a specialized breastfeeding pillow and became very successful. He wasn't into design. He wasn't into that area. I don't think at that time he had any children. But he just had an idea, something clicked in his head. It's a real example. Something clicked in his head. And he became extremely successful because he created that design of that breastfeeding pillow. And more than likely, I didn't go into details about, more than likely, the fact that he's selling it as a specialized breastfeeding pillow, he has an industrial design registration for that pillow. And that created a different level of life for him and his family because of that thought in his head from an experience he had. Now with this legislation, that could happen to any one of us in St. Kitts and Nevis. And don't ever think that something you create here cannot become popular throughout the world in this globalized world that we live in. Part 7 deals with changes in ownership and licensing. It allows transfers and licenses to be recorded in the register and mandates official recording of third-party enforceability. Part 8 deals with invalidation. It permits court action to invalidate improper registrations, protects original creators, and allows partial invalidation. Part 9 deals with enforcement and remedies, introduces rights to information of infringers, on infringers, authorizing injunctions, seizures, damages, and publication of judgments, promotes fairness and deterrence in enforcement. Part 10 deals with Hague applications. It recognizes the international registrations under the Hague Agreement, outlines procedures for refusal, invalidation, and effect of registration. And Part 11 grants the Minister power to make regulations, formalizes the Register and the Gazette, and repeals the 1930 UK Designs Act. So, Madam Deputy Speaker, the passage of this bill is long overdue. Our last bill was in 1930. We signed on to various agreements and treaties since 1996. But thanks to the hard work and strong leadership of the Intellectual Property Office, I cannot take credit for this, Madam Deputy Speaker. Mrs. Jeanne Williams-Knight and her team must take full credit. They worked with WIPO, they worked with the EU IP office. They got consultants to draft, they worked hard, they sent it out for consultation, and now we are here, after their hard work, presenting something that could change the landscape for the orange economy in St. Kitts and Nevis. This is not just another bill, it is an opportunity for that person sitting down in their house right now at 18 years old, thinking about what they're going to do with their life, of possibly having the chance of creating something special and being able to show it and sell it to the world. That is what this bill means, Madam Deputy Speaker. It provides a platform for development of the creative enterprise. It aligns with our nation with the global intellectual property regime. We continue to shape a modern and inclusive economy in this sustainable island state we envision. We must insist in doing that our people use their intellect, their skills, and their creativity as a viable pathway to prosperity. This law gives them more of the legal armor they need. Madam Deputy Speaker, I want the people of St. Kitts and Nevis to hear me. You can make it in this world by being something other than a lawyer, a doctor, an accountant, a business person. You can be a musician. You can be a producer. You can create something new that the world has never seen. We have examples of that. Persons who have gone the non-traditional route. Let us not be constrained by the old ideas as to what success or what are the pathways to success. I have a classmate who I grew up with who became a dancer, who always wanted to be a dancer, went to the UK, and for over a decade was a dancer in the Lion King. That person didn't give up on their dreams. They used their creativity and their talent to create a life for themselves and their families. That is what we're encouraging people to do. That is why we're creating bills like this. There are other pathways to success than the traditional means. And we want our young people especially to dig deep into their creativity. We are creative people naturally by birth. We're one of the most loved regions in the world because of our culture and our creativity, our uniqueness, our beautiful people. We have Nobel laureates. We have famous authors. We have some of the top musicians in the world from a tiny part of the globe with 7 million people. In the world of Member for number 3, about 8 billion people now? Yes. 7 million out of 9 billion people. And we have shown that we can be the best in different areas, especially when it comes to creativity. So we want to encourage our people, and this bill is one of those ways to encourage our people to look at other opportunities to use their creativity and to monetize it. I therefore, Madam Deputy Speaker, say, let us protect our creativity, let us empower our people, let us build a sustainable island state, one innovation at a time. May it please you.
Thank you, Honorable Attorney General. Seconder, I recognize the Honorable Member for St. Christopher 3.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. With your indulgence, I'd like to make a contribution to the bill before this Honorable House. That is the Industrial Designs Bill. Industrial Designs Bill. I want to thank the Honorable Attorney General for moving this bill, a very critical bill in the history of St. Kitts and Nevis, and one in particular that I fully support, especially given that I do have a little bit of experience in the creative world, and so it is always a wonderful thing to see that the creatives and the orange economy. And so I rise to second the motion to have this bill, the Industrial Designs Bill, read a second time. It's really transformative piece of legislation, Madam Deputy Speaker, not only to legally modernize, but to the very heart of, as the mover was speaking about, economic creativity, about cultural identity, and importantly, about documenting and protecting innovation within our Federation of St. Kitts and Nevis. So why this bill? And I think the mover did an excellent job in establishing the fundamentals of why we need to do this bill. And the question is, why now? No, Madam Deputy Speaker, as the mover would have mentioned, we are presently depending on a UK Designs Bill from almost 100 years ago. And that is passed down, obviously, from a different era and doesn't have what it takes to really protect our creativity here in our Federation. What this bill does is that it repeals that antiquated law and replaces it with something that is bold, something that is modern, something that is homegrown legal framework, which is important to note. Because, Madam Deputy Speaker, it is about time that our own designers, whether you are a shoemaker on Central Street, or whether you are a digital artist somewhere in Charlestown or Gingerland, you must have access to a system that protects their ideas or your ideas and rewards the innovation. So what this bill does, Madam Deputy Speaker, is bring us really in line, though, with international best practices and fulfills our obligation on the two critical treaties. I think the mover may have mentioned this before, the Paris Convention and the Hague Agreement, which is administered by the World Intellectual Property Organization, WIPO. So what we're doing now is not just check boxes, Madam Deputy Speaker. This will open doors for our designers to secure international recognition and legal protection without ever having to leave the Federation. That's very important. So some of you and some of us who are listening, we may ask, well, what exactly is an industrial design? Because that's more of a fancy term. And why should it matter to an ordinary Kittitian or Nevisian? Well, an industrial design is not necessarily about, and not about how a product works. It is how the product looks. So whether it has a distinctive shape, whether it has a bold pattern, like maybe on a swimsuit, maybe it has sleek curves of a locally designed mobile app interface. I don't know if the mover spoke about protecting designs, for instance, in app development or software development. These visual features are what effectively attract consumers, build brand loyalty, and fuel market success. The mover spoke about the Coca-Cola bottle, which its fancy shape and its iconic shape. There's also, for instance, the Nike swoosh, Everybody, when they see the Nike swoosh, they know it's a Nike brand. The McDonald's Golden Arches, for instance. And to those of you in this house, for instance, who might be looking out for a Tiffany blue box. You know, is a Tiffany blue box?
With a chain.
With a chain in it?
Yeah.
I know some members in this house looking out for a Tiffany blue box. Even that is trademarked, and the size and everything, the Tiffany blue box. And he spoke about the Apple iPhone. The list goes on and on and on. And there's no reason why our people cannot be in that mix to one day have famous design. I mean, we have excellent artists and designers. You could think of Von Anslin and so on. So imagine, Madam Deputy Speaker, a young entrepreneur from anywhere in St. Kitts, in St. Paul's, in the village, in Connery, in Nevis, wherever, crafting their own bags. I was at a function the other day, I can't remember the name of the young lady, who had bags for sale. She would now be able to register that once it has some unique shapes, whether it is filled with Kittitian or Nevisian prints. With this bill, Madam Deputy Speaker, she can now register that design and protect it from being copied by foreign manufacturers. She can license it, she can export it, and she could even take action if someone steals her work online. That is the level of protection that this bill is seeking to bring. So what does the bill actually do? It's not just about the legal jargon, of course, Madam Deputy Speaker, but it really does create a real and enforceable system with two levels of protection that the mover spoke about. Obviously, the registered designs, which creators apply for full protection lasting up to 25 years, where you could have 5-year renewal terms, and, Madam Deputy Speaker, unregistered designs, meaning even if you don't register it, automatically protected for 3 years upon public disclosure. This is particularly important for if somebody needs to do something quick. There's a show coming up, a big concert or something, and somebody needs maybe a talent show or a queen show, and a designer needs to do something for someone very quickly. They ain't got time to go and register anything. They do their design, the person wins, they come out on stage, it looks fancy, everybody said that's an amazing design. Once you have that public disclosure, you get automatic protection, as I understand it, for 3 years, giving you the time to officially register it thereafter. So this dual system is inclusive. So it doesn't only empower established people who know what to do and can do it very quickly, but also emerging creators. Because sometimes someone may come up with something that they don't know is a hit. They may come up with a design and they don't know it is a hit. Maybe I would carve out something with food in it. For instance, I went to a farm here, Lyamiga Farm, I think. Lyamiga Natural Farms. And my food was served on a banana leaf, I think it is. So you could find all sorts of things that, if it is put in a particular way, can qualify as a design that can be protected. And so it is wide, whatever you come up with. And in the instant that you come up with it and it's published, that also will be protected until you're able to register it properly. So the bill also empowers, of course, our IP office. And I think that is important to highlight the work of the IP office, led, of course, by my classmates, well, my schoolmates, from all the way back, long time. That's one of your products too?
Of course. Constituency number 1 at that.
Mrs. She was my colleague before she was your product. I could say that. So I want to commend the extraordinary work that Mrs. Jehan Williams-Knight and her team have done to bring us to this point. This is years in the making. This is clearly a passion of Mrs. Williams-Knight, and I am happy to be a part of a parliament that is supporting the efforts. So this bill empowers that office to do its work, to register and administer designs efficiently. It empowers our courts to issue injunctions, to have seizures, damages, and even recalls where infringement occur. And this bill also protects and empowers our designers to use their rights domestically and internationally, thanks to the Hague-based registration. Madam Deputy Speaker, let's move this off my screen. So, the other thing that this bill does, of course, or if I can go in a little bit more, is that this bill clearly is about supporting the creative and manufacturing economies. So, Madam Speaker, right here, Madam Deputy Speaker, right here in St. Kitts and Nevis, the creative economy is not fluff. It is big business. Every time the creative economy is becoming larger and larger and larger. It is a real dominant force, and I am glad to see that we are embracing the power of the creative economy. Just look at all of the activities we've been having, whether it is music festival, whether it is grill fest, whether it is a fete. The industry is big business. Design is now one of the key economic differentiators across industries. So in fashion, for instance, at all of these shows or these events, there's always a place where people can go and take their pictures, and they're going to go on Instagram. And you're going to have designers who are on show. Whether it is El Couture, that's one, right? That's one, Madam Clerk. Caribel Batik, Livell, Brown Sugar Clothing. There's a gentleman who DJ on the radio. There's a gentleman that DJs on the radio who used to have one. I don't know if this is going to encourage him to bring it back. Sugar Clothing. Saucy Styles by Kamla. Kiwi Dan. Call all. I can't name some, and if I forgot any, my apologies. Say that again? Cakes by Diana. Cakes by Diana. And Jeanette. Yes, Jeanette. And you have all of those who do, what they call them, the faces, the design. Because, yes, makeup. If you have a distinctive design of applying, whether it is the eye shadow and it has a, I don't know how it goes, all of these things are part of the creative economy. And what this bill seeks to do is, if you come up with something that is unique to you, our hair braiders, that is unique to you, your style, this bill is for you. In furniture and woodworking, you have an excellent piece of furniture that is designed by someone locally. They can protect that. In digital designs, anything that is digitally created can be protected as long as it is unique. User interfaces for apps. All of these things are designed. Big businesses and big companies have done this for years. They protect their designs so that someone can't use it again. In agribusiness, where branding and packaging of our local products must compete on the crowded supermarket shelves. So if you can find a design that allows you to stand out, this bill is for you. So under this legislation, their creative or creativity will have legal muscle behind it, and that is what this bill does. But it goes further, Madam Deputy Speaker. This bill can attract investment and build confidence. Why? Modern IP law is also a magnet for foreign investment and public-private partnerships. Investors and businesses alike are far more likely to enter a market where innovation is protected. So other people can come here, Our investors can come here, they can design and know that they have strong legislation to protect their work. Where there is rule of law and where creators can secure their work. That is something that investors are interested in. And this, Madam Deputy Speaker, is part of our Federation's broader approach to economic diversification, to move beyond just tourism into tech, into fashion, into industrial design, manufacturing. The bill offers a chance for us to empower our youth and future generations. It's not just for big corporations. It is for our students at CFBC, even a project that is for CXC or for CAPE that has design elements in it. This is for those persons. For our young creatives posting their work on TikTok or Etsy, and for our small business, of course, participating in regional expos, for instance. We are telling all of them very loud and clear, your ideas matter, your design has value, and we will protect it. So, Madam Deputy Speaker, as I support this bill and the passage of this bill, it is about liberating and protecting creativity. It's about telling the world that here in St. Kitts and Nevis is not just about being a consumer of global design trends, but we are creators, we are innovators, and now we are owners of those designs. This bill, the Industrial Design Bill 2025, is really a cornerstone of a smarter, more competitive, and culturally confident future. So, Madam Deputy Speaker, please let us protect the genius of our people. Let us support innovation. Let us pass this bill with pride and with urgency, and I, without a doubt, commend this Industrial Designs Bill 2025 to this Honourable House. Madam Deputy Speaker, may it please you.
Thank you, Honourable Member for St. Christopher 3. I now invite the mover. I recognize Honourable Senator Joel Clark.
Madam Deputy Speaker, I want to contribute very briefly to the bill before us, the Industrial Design Bill 2025, by drawing reference to how this particular design and having these protections linked to our overall goal of becoming a sustainable island state and achieving our sustainable development goals in particular. And as I've mentioned, we often don't see the interconnection and the link between environment, development, and some of our legislation. And so I reserve the right to do this every single time once the opportunity presents itself. And I must say that, in particular, this bill and what we're doing as a nation is working towards two SDGs in particular. SDG 9, which speaks to fostering innovation and sustainable industrialization, and SDG 12, which speaks to promoting sustainable consumption and production. And I'll speak very briefly on innovation, sustainable industrialization as it relates to designs, infrastructure, even having companies that promote inclusive, sustainable industrialization and foster innovation even in building designs, in creating, now we're working towards sustainable settlements as part of our sustainable island state agenda. And we welcome even our designers, architects, and engineers who may come up with creative options for ensuring that even our homes are more climate resilient and able to protect our people. Importantly, as I mentioned earlier in statements by ministers, today marks the last day in which we can distribute styrofoam containers and egg crates in particular. And for SDG 12, which speaks to promoting sustainable consumption and production, we're seeing that industrial design and having this type of protection helps play a vital role in promoting sustainable consumption, in promoting recycling, in promoting better use of materials, minimal environmental impact. So as the member for constituency 3, member for number 3 mentioned, the fig leaf at Lyamiga Natural Farms can be an option. We need to find creative ways to replace the styrofoam containers. We look forward to next week when our business partners, our vendors, etc., show us how they have been creative and ingenious and innovative in providing the foods that we love on the side of the road, in a restaurant, etc. But the whole point about it is once we pass legislation in this House, it must connect not only to our local agenda of a sustainable island state, but it must connect to the global agenda of our sustainable development goals, which we have to reach by 2030. So I am very pleased to support this bill. I again congratulate Ms. Jihan Williams. I do apologize for missing the last name. And her team at the Intellectual Property Office for the work that they have been doing. This is not the first bill that has come here. It's consistent and it's showing that we are working to protect not only the rights of our designers and innovators, but to promote the creative economy and to promote and support our creatives in a way that's meaningful. This was a manifesto promised by the administration, by the Labour Party, and we're seeing it happening not only in the ministry that the member for number 4 leads, but also in the ways in which our legislation promotes and protects their livelihoods. So, Madam Deputy Speaker, with that, I rest.
Thank you, Honourable Senator Clark. I recognize the mover of the bill, the Honourable Attorney General.
May it please you, Madam Deputy Speaker, I was just going to say that I didn't have much more to add, and I was grateful for the support for the bill by the honourable members, but there's something that the honourable senator just said, and I think I must reference it because it's important. We come here, Madam Deputy Speaker, and we have now debated 83 bills in this honourable House since October 2022. Wow. But the number doesn't matter. What we're doing is fulfilling our promise to our people that we are going to modernize this country and we're going to make this country a better place for everyone to live. And it is when the honourable senator, my senator colleague, spoke about the manifesto, I think it's important for me to actually quote from the manifesto, which is the promise to the people before an election. And, you know, I said on the radio yesterday, I don't give promises, I give commitments. And I think that we have given a commitment and certain commitments in the general party manifesto as well as the individual constituency manifestos. And I want to read this, if you'd allow me to, Madam Deputy Speaker. And this is from the 2022 manifesto that says that Labour will usher in an ambitious, youth-driven transformation in our country in order to unleash transformative ideas and policies that will enrich our people and our country. Labour will include young people in decision-making at the national level to ensure that we build a better country that caters to the needs of our future leaders and entrepreneurs. The creative economy, often called the orange economy, will be unlocked so that creativity, the arts, and culture can be pursued as careers and productive endeavors by our people. What we are doing today is fulfilling that commitment. And it's one of the elements of fulfilling that commitment. And it cannot be understated, and it cannot be lost in the rhetoric and the negativity that consumes us throughout our society, whether it's messages received on WhatsApp, social media posts, fake news sites, TikTok, negativity, and so forth, which consumes us. We have to sometimes look at the positivity, Madam Deputy Speaker. And I think today is a positive day. And I think this bill is a positive bill. It is a bill to give an opportunity for our creatives or people who have thoughts in their minds, unique thoughts, unique creative skills and talents, to be able to monetize on those talents and skills and creativity. It's a pathway to a new type of economy. And that is the real reason that this bill has been presented, to give our young people especially an opportunity to create their own path using their creativity. And I feel like that is very important and must not be lost in the various discussions on clauses and alignments with our national plan, which is the Sustainable Island State Agenda, and all of the nuances in the legislation. At the end of the day, we are here to make people's lives better and to give people an opportunity to succeed and be the best version of themselves, and this is an example of that. May it please you, and I wish this bill safe passage, Madam Deputy Speaker.
Thank you, Honorable Attorney General. The question is that the bill entitled Industrial Designs Bill 2025 be read a second time. Those in favor? Aye. Those against? The ayes have it.
A bill to provide for the protection and registration of industrial designs in St. Christopher and Nevis and for related matters, otherwise known as the Industrial Design Bill 2025.
The bill entitled the Industrial Designs Bill 2025 has been read a second time. House moves to committee stage.
Clauses 1 through 41.
The question is that clauses 1 to 41 stand part of the bill. Those in favor? Aye. Those against? The ayes have it.
The enacting clause.
The question is that the enacting clause stands part of the bill. Those in favor? Aye. Those against? The ayes have it.
The title.
The question is that the title stands part of the bill. Those in favor? Aye. Those against? The ayes have it. House resumes. I recognize the Honorable Attorney General.
Apologies, Madam Deputy Speaker. I rise to report that the bill shortly titled Industrial Designs Bill 2025 has successfully passed through committee stage without amendments, and I move that it be read for a third time and passed into law.
I recognize the Honorable Member for St. Christopher 3.
Madam Speaker, I second the motion.
Thank you. The question is that the bill entitled Industrial Designs Bill 2025 be read a third time and passed into law. Those in favor? Aye. Those against? The ayes have it.
A bill to provide for the protection and registration of industrial designs in St. Christopher and Nevis and for related matters, otherwise known as the Industrial Designs Bill 2025.
The bill entitled Industrial Designs Bill 2025 has been read a third time and passed into law. Next item on the order paper.
Motions, resolutions, adjournment.
I recognize the Honorable Member for St. Christopher 8.
Thank you very much, Madam Deputy Speaker. On the adjournment, I just quickly want to take this opportunity to wish the Harris family of St. Peter's as they celebrate their family reunion. Wish them all the best and to have as much fun as possible and to celebrate each other. I also want to take this opportunity on a more solemn note to really extend my condolences to the family of Ms. Matilda Small, who was laid to rest yesterday and to say to the family that they have, of course, my own support, and I know that the community of Kayon continues to support the family as they go through the period of bereavement. Allow me also, Madam Deputy Speaker, to take this opportunity to really reflect on Culturama. I know this is the big weekend for yourself and the people of Nevis in particular, but by extension the people of St. Kitts. As you know, every year there are more people from St. Kitts participating in Culturama than Nevis. I see the minister there. But just to say that, for us as Kittitians, Culturama is part of what we partake in. And so I want to wish all of us happy Culturama, those who will be traveling over to Nevis, to do so safely and to enjoy themselves. With that, Madam Deputy Speaker, may it please you, and happy Culturama to you as well. I also want to touch on one other matter, that this is Emancipation Weekend. Emancipation, as we know, is the 1st of August, but we celebrate it the first Monday in August. And in St. Kitts and Nevis, it is when Culturama is really celebrated. It is fitting that Culturama is done around Emancipation Day. It was a time of celebration. It was something to celebrate. But in our celebrations, we should also endeavor to remember why we have such a day, the Emancipation Day. So on Emancipation Day, as recognized, we celebrate Culturama as well. And so we'll have the son of Marcus Garvey, who will be here in St. Kitts and Nevis. I think it's on the 6th. And so it's fitting to have someone of his caliber. As you know, his father, the most honorable Marcus Mosiah Garvey, a Jamaican and a national hero, was one who fought for the true liberation and emancipation in all forms of our people here, black people in particular, in the Western Hemisphere. And so that event is really to bring as much attention as possible to the whole issue of emancipation and liberation of us as a people. And lastly, the 3rd anniversary of the St. Kitts Nevis Labour Party administration. This is the 3rd year that we're here. Time flies. But I would like to thank all the supporters of our party and those who voted to put this administration in to conduct the affairs of St. Kitts and Nevis. I want to thank all of my cabinet members, all of my colleagues who have supported. And there are a number of activities that are lined up for us to celebrate. Church service on Sunday in constituency number 2, New Testament, yes, at 9 a.m. So we always celebrate with church service. And then we have Chill and Grill at our new headquarters at 4 p.m. So we are celebrating on Sunday as well. So we are putting God first and at the same time having a grand celebration. And I know some of us will then journey over to Nevis to continue the celebration. But with that, Madam Deputy Speaker, may it please you.
Thank you, Honourable Member for St. Christopher 8. I recognize the Honourable Senator Joel Clark.
Thank you, Deputy Speaker. I too want to rise on the adjournment to do 2 things. One, to acknowledge the St. Paul's Football Club for their recent participation in the CONCACAF Club Shields tournament in Trinidad. I know the team. Did you win last year?
I won some of my matches.
Okay. So the team didn't win their matches, but I am so proud that as the defending champions for the 2024 SKNIS season, they were able to participate in this league, and this was due to the support of a lot of well-wishers, including the Honourable Member for number 3, who donated considerably to their participation in that tournament. And and we want to thank the persons in the community who really supported the team, the members to participate, and we know that next year we'll have another opportunity to try again to win our matches at this club leagues, because we'll at this league, because we will be coming out as the 2025 SKNIS champions. That's one thing. Secondly, I too want to register here on the adjournment the passing of our 3rd anniversary as an administration. I think that it is something that we should celebrate and really welcome. The St. Kitts Nevis Labour Party serves for the people of St. Kitts and Nevis. It is our philosophy to do for the good that we can do for the greatest number of people, and with the legislation that have been passed here in this honorable house, there is a clear commitment that we're here for people, for country, and of course for the planet. Thank you, Madam Deputy Speaker.
Thank you, Honorable Senator Clark. I recognize the Honorable Member for Nevis 11.
I'll give you a chance to talk. You won't get the mic on. Thank you very much, Madam Deputy Speaker. I rise at this point, Madam Deputy Speaker, just to speak on the adjournment and to remind us all in this Honorable House that tomorrow, the 1st of August, marks 55 years since the Christina disaster, which occurred in 1970. And with all of the celebration and all of the joy and frolicking and so forth, it must not escape us that this particular disaster was the worst in the history of the Federation of St. Kitts and Nevis. And so tomorrow at 9 a.m., as we have done in Nevis over the last 55 years, we will be recognizing those who would have lost their lives in that disaster. I will also say that that disaster would have brought about some significant changes in the Federation of St. Kitts and Nevis in many areas. Of course, in marine laws and the way that we operate in the Federation of St. Kitts and Nevis, but also many families are still affected and impacted by that disaster, even up until today. Persons who would show up annually still speak about that loss in terms of what it means to their family, or what it would have meant then and even now to their family. And also we, from our standpoint, who are now looking back, can always look at the talent and the persons who would have been lost and what they may have been able to contribute to the development of this island, or this federation, sorry, if they were still alive today. And so we cannot let that escape us, and we must always remember the 1st of August. And it is always during that festive time, yes, and it can escape so many persons. But I just brought that up so that we can all be reminded and keep that date, keep this day as it approaches tomorrow as one that is near and dear to all of us. Culturama, yes, it has been spoken about, and I also want to invite as many persons as possible over to Nevis to celebrate with us there during this festive time. More particularly, I want to invite persons on the 4th of August to come to Herbert Beach for the Herbert's Beach Affair. It is something that I've been spearheading for the last, 20 plus years. It is, when I say near and dear to me, it is one that I feel is important to the overall impact of Culturama. Without Herbert Beach, Culturama can never be what it is, or what it has been in the past. And the minister responsible might certainly differ. But I stand here and I am certainly resolute in my thinking and my speech here today in saying that Herbert Beach has always been one of the major contributors to the success of Culturama. And so I want to invite as many persons over on the 4th of August to Herbert Beach. That is up in my constituency, and it is going to be just as good and even better than the past years. So, Madam Deputy Speaker, that is my input here on the adjournment, but I want us all to be safe. I want Culturama to be crime-free. As a matter of fact, let me just mention publicly that right in my constituency there was the first murder for this year thus far. And I say thus far because we still have some ways to go. But I'm hoping it's the only one that will will encounter, have any need to speak about going forward. But that happened, but it was 2 nights ago. Unfortunate, I want to express sympathies to all of the grieving families out there. But it brings me to the point that these are things that we would love not to be talking about. Yeah, even though I mention it, it is something that it pains my heart to even mention at this point in time, because our young people are still involved in things that are not productive towards the development of this federation. And every life lost is an opportunity lost for us to see someone get to the point where they can certainly be of some meaningful, provide some meaningful contribution towards the development of this federation. So let's not have any such activity again. I am beseeching and begging all of our young people. There are laws that have been passed in this parliament that I feel that are laws that should mitigate or counter some of these activities, and there are harsh penalties out there. And so I am admonishing one and all to abide by the law. Taking a life, or an eye for an eye for that matter, it's not the way to go in this federation. And so I'm asking all of us, to be cognizant of the laws and cognizant of the fact that we need to look out for each other and make sure that we're all around to do what we're mandated to do, and that is to develop this federation. So with those few words, Madam Deputy Speaker, I say, well, thank you.
Thank you, Honourable Member for Nevis 11. I recognize the Honourable Member for Nevis 10.
Thank you, Madam Deputy Speaker, and I rise on the adjournment as well, just to invite persons in both St. Kitts and Nevis to come and celebrate with us as we celebrate the 51st anniversary of the Caribbean's greatest summer lime, Culturama. And of course, I just want to remind those of us who are listening and viewing online as to the rest of the activities for the festival. Tonight we have the tonight we have the National Bank Soca Monarch competition. We have quite a few persons from St. Kitts who are taking part in that competition, and I know St. Kittitians will be coming over in their numbers. On Friday, tomorrow, we have the TDC Senior Calypso competition at the NEDAX Cultural Complex. On Saturday, we have the Food Fair, which I know Kittitians come over in their boatloads. That will be taking place at the Malcolm Gishad Recreational Park. And of course, we expect to see thousands of Kittitians converge on Nevis. There is no Culturama without Kittitians. We know that for sure. The member for Nevis 8 spoke about the participation of Kittitians, and we are aware of that because 3 of the crowns so far have already come to St. Kitts, right? 3 of the crowns have already come to St. Kitts for the competition so far. And then on Saturday night, there's a 5-in-1. On Sunday, we have the Bank of Nevis Miss Culture Queen Pageant. Then on Monday is a big day. Monday is Juve. And I know a lot of the federal ministers normally come over for Juve. I'm inviting you all to come over and be a part of the long jam. It's a great exercise for you. Just don't come and remain in Charlestown. Come up and be a part of the long jam. It's a historic jam, so come and be a part of the long jam. And then of course, I think it's Banner Jam. Right. And then, of course, you heard the member for Nevis 11 spoke about the Herbert Beach Affair on Monday afternoon, and then on Tuesday we have the Parade of Troops. So I'm inviting all in both St. Kitts and Nevis to be a part of the festival. I am hoping and I'm encouraging all of us, hoping that we will have an incident and an accident and a crime-free festival. And so I am beseeching and I'm begging persons who are coming out to revel to please leave the weapons behind. Please leave the weapons at home. Come and let us revel. Well, if you have them, leave them at home. Hope you don't have any. But please let us revel in love and unity, and let us have a great time together, and let there be no more incidents. We regret what took place 2 nights ago, but we are hoping that there will be not a repeat of that. And so, once again, let us all have a great time for Culturama 2025, Nivision Pride, second to none, Culturama 51. May it please you, Madam Deputy Speaker.
Thank you, Honourable Member for Nevis 10. I recognize the Honourable Member for St. Christopher 3.
Madam Deputy Speaker, with your indulgence, I rise on the occasion of the adjournment. Firstly, to extend profound sympathies to the family of Nathaniel Primus, who was a young lad about the age of 18 or thereabout in the Lagreet community in my constituency, who lost his life some time ago due to an illness, as I am made aware, and want to extend to the family and the entire community, because that's a very close-knit community, our heartfelt sympathies. Some persons may know his mother. She does the ice cream iQueen truck, and so we want to extend to the entire family. Also, unfortunately as well, we would have lost a 2-year-old, and I want to extend sympathies to the family of Kimoy Fleming and Jalen Warner on what must be an awful experience right now, and I could never imagine what pain they would be going through at this time. So my heart pours out to them and the entire Trafalgar family and the village community on a whole on the very, very sad passing of the young lad. I also want to extend condolences and sympathies to my own family. I lost my aunt on Saturday, which is Ruth Williams, who is the sister of my father. Her husband from Nevis, Sydney Williams. She died in St. Croix on Saturday afternoon, and I want to extend to my entire family here at home and abroad on the passing of our dear Auntie Ruth. Of course, she was a critical part of our family. The first vacation I would have had is in outside of St. Kitts would have been right there with Auntie Ruth in St. Croix. And so we will miss her dearly, and I extend my heartfelt best wishes to my family as we go through this time, in particular her children, her 3 sons, Austin, Marcus, and Michael, and as I mentioned, her husband, Sydney, and her remaining sisters and brothers and the extended family. On better news, of course, the Icon Roots and Culture Summer Camp is in full swing. And they're having an extraordinary time in learning all sorts of cultural things, whether it is making sugar cake or baking or doing masquerading, drumming, sewing, crocheting, that's what you say, crocheting, dancing, storytelling, play-doh, making, arts and craft. It has been an amazing experience for the children at the camp. Today we had the tour, the field trip to Brimstone Hill, where they would get obviously the whole rundown on the history of Brimstone Hill, and they are enjoying it to the max. They should have been back by now. And the camp concludes tomorrow, and I want to thank all of the team who is behind this particular initiative. They are working tirelessly hard for months to put this into operation, and I want to commend them for the excellent work that they are doing. With respect to Culturama, I was hoping to hear the minister say that Calypsonians can now participate in Culturama. I do not know why a son of the soil like me continues to be restricted from participating in culture. Yes, that's what I mean, a son of the soil. I'm half Nivision. It's a work in progress, it's a half Nivision. It's the only crown I don't have, I'm trying to get. Right? When I finish the song. So I'm happy to hear that our soca artist can perform. I'm happy to hear that our bands will be on the road. I'm happy to hear that we've won some crowns, but I don't know what happened to Calypsonians. I don't understand it. I'm not going to hit you hard. I've always been, but I look forward to that day. And I want to wish the activities all the best, the festivities all the best, and obviously safety during this time. And obviously, going on the words of our party leader and the member, I also want to congratulate the St. Kitts Nevis Labour Party administration on an excellent 3 years. We will have more in the media to speak about, and you will continue to see the amazing transformational advancements that we've had under this administration, and I'm proud to be a part of this A-team. And with that, Madam Deputy Speaker, I now move a motion to have this House adjourned, sine die.
Seconder, I recognize the Honourable Member for St. Christopher 1.
I second the motion before the Honourable House Deputy Speaker.
Thank you. The question is that this Honourable House stands adjourned, sine die. Those in favour? Aye. Those against? The ayes have it. This Honourable House stands adjourned.
For regular updates, live coverage, and even more information on your government. While you're at it, like, share, and interact with our Facebook and Instagram pages at SKNIS Media and SKNIS Info.
Mr. President, Excellencies, distinguished delegates, St. Kitts